12-team playoff.
This is 365 Sports.
Daniels keeps it, and he scores.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Anzio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in 365 Sports. It is Thursday. That means for the next 3 Thursdays, Smokey is gone. Next Thursday, I'll actually be gone. I have a wedding I need to go to in Nashville. But it's just me and Craig today. So sorry for the people who only watch the show for Smokey. We'll try to do better next time. But welcome in everybody in the chat, everybody watching live, everybody watching later. Craig, it is officially week 1. I mean, we've had games already, but there's a ton of games tonight. I mean, this is the heaviest Thursday I can probably ever remember.
Oh yeah, man. It's great to be here. It's great to be on the cusp of a full football weekend. It's great to have a filled up Friday night schedule as well. We got 4 teams from the Big 12 in action tonight. And I think 3 of them should probably be guaranteed wins. And one of them will be a little bit trickier as we can get to with Nebraska and Cincinnati. But it's great to have college football here and in full after the taste test last week of just a little sampler platter and Farmageddon and a few other games here and there. We're getting the full meal deal starting tonight, and then from here on out, I mean, all the way through Monday night with North Carolina and TCU. So got a bunch of time on our hands, hopefully, to enjoy as much as we possibly can. And even if you have some things to keep you busy, there'll be football going on every day but Sunday from here through Monday night. So, everybody's going to have a chance.
Sunday. That's when Notre Dame plays.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Notre Dame.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, all 5 days coming up here in a row. I don't know why I blanked on that one, but looking forward to it all.
Yeah, Virginia Tech and Wake, is it not Wake, Vandy, but whoever Virginia Tech plays, I think they play on Sunday as well before that Notre Dame-Miami game. All right, let's get into the news. I put this one first just to bother you, Craig. Because you just spoke about this yesterday, and then I saw it today. John Wilner, with 7 matchups against the SEC and Big Ten, the first 10 days will define the Big 12 season, and its tenuous CFP fate is going to lose the narrative battle.
Yeah, Virginia Tech plays South Carolina. We should know that, and I did feel like I knew that, but I just blanked on it. So that's another good game to look forward to potentially. I don't know that we've advertised it here at all, but just started a new little brief show earlier this week, so I might as well promote it here now. It's called The Smoak Break, and it's intended to be just like 15 minutes or so, although I've kind of gone over. I'm having to learn when I'm just talking by myself, kind of the pit-pat of doing that and the timing in my head and everything. So it's gone closer to 20 minutes the last 2 shows of the only 2 shows that I've done so far, but if you want to head on over to or just put into YouTube Smoak Break, SMOAK, you can find the channel that's been flipped over there and put a couple of episodes up. The first one is just kind of rolling with it because I'm always like playing off of or talking to somebody. So it's just me and it's fine. It's just a lot different to do that. Today, I think Garrett would agree. It's more of like a rolling off of the tongue kind of a way. So I think I've hit my stride now, and I'm just going to riff on some things that I maybe don't have enough time to because we're crunched with something else that keeps us from expanding much. But whatever it is, college football wise, Big 12 or not, I'm going to talk about it on Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 15 minutes. So if you want to go look up the Smoak Break, again, that's SMOAK, and hit like and subscribe, then I would love that. But today I actually talked about this. And my point yesterday was not that there shouldn't be talk about the conferences and all that. And I actually dove further into that today on that show. But it's just that I don't want everything to be about that. Like every little detail of every little thing that occurs doesn't have to be, oh my God, it's life or death for the Big 12. Oh my God, it's life or death for this or that. It's just like, yeah, they could lose a couple games this weekend and be fine. But they have a massive opportunity. And so if you want to talk about the Big 12 narrative going into this weekend, let's talk about that. Let's just not apply every win and loss to like the big picture. Are they going to succeed and fail and ever win a championship and all that kind of jazz? I just want to keep it a little bit more compartmentalized and not so much widespread labeling of the entire conference just because UCF loses to so-and-so. But other people do that. They do the widespread labeling because of the fact that they probably don't pay as close of attention and have maybe a certain bias already for better or worse when it comes to the Big 12. And so there are narratives that are out there. There are narratives that are perhaps somewhat true that you're not quite on the level of a Big 10 or an SEC, or that you don't deserve this many playoff teams compared to some other leagues. And that's all very real. And I'm fine speaking on that. And I think that tonight is a great opportunity for the Big 12 to go win a bunch of games, but also flip the narrative a little bit. And this weekend's an incredible opportunity for them to do that. You've got games like Colorado and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's favored, but I think Colorado could very well win that game. I think Colorado's actually being slept on a little bit. I do. I know that's something we kind of talked about a little bit, but I don't think they're just going to fall off a cliff. I think Kaden Salter's a good quarterback. Yeah. I don't think they're not going to have wide receivers. I think there are legitimate questions about them, but I think Colorado's got a very real shot to win that game. I think Baylor-Auburn could be one hell of a game. Auburn's slightly favored in that one, but I think Baylor can win that game. I think TCU is going to beat North Carolina. There's Cincinnati-Nebraska later on tonight. I don't love the Bearcats winning that game if I had to put my money down, but I know Scott Satterfield was very confident, and I don't think Nebraska is just some unbeatable machine, and they haven't been for 25 years. So there's a chance. You never know. And plus, they're playing at Arrowhead, right? Yeah. Where one of the two most famous Bearcats of all time is probably going to be in attendance.
Oh, he already said he was.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was officially official, but I assumed he would be. So, yeah, Travis Kelce, who knows what kind of magic will be flowing through Arrowhead.
Look, this dude's having a good week.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's having an incredible week. So you've got that game, and what is there? One other that I'm missing from this weekend that is another big opportunity. Utah, UCLA. Utah should win that game. It's in Los Angeles, but I'd pick Utah to win that game. So there's 5 games right out of the gates after having kind of the weekend to have a bit of a spotlight last weekend with Farmageddon. Yep, we're calling it that. That kind of set the table, and now you could go and really clean that table up in a major way and flip that narrative a little bit since you were to upset Nebraska, or you're to go like 3-2 in these games, and one of those Colorado's beating Georgia Tech, or like, and the thing is, as I said on the other show earlier today, is like that is going to matter at the end of the season. Like the narrative is real, and when you get into playoff time and you start comparing everything, they're going to say, okay, well, how did you play against these other conferences? And if you can sit there and point and go, we were like 3-0 versus the ACC, well, that could be the difference in getting a playoff spot or not, depending on, what the conversation is. So, yeah, I'm just not, everything's got to be us versus the world, but the us versus the respect is a very real thing if you're a Big 12 fan. And so this weekend is absolutely massive to try and go take some of that respect. And you've got 5 opportunities to do that. So walk the walk, talk the talk, but don't go 0-5. And then on Monday, I want to hear, we don't get any respect in the polls. It's like, well, you had 5 games to try to get some respect, and you didn't gain any because nobody took care of their business. So yeah, they need teams to take care of their business, because you can talk everything to death, but ultimately it's about winning like everything else. And so there's a lot of that out there for the taking this weekend.
Yeah. Max Olson comes up in just 5 minutes. He had to move to an earlier time today. Obviously, lots of stuff going on. So we'll have Max in just a few minutes. Next up, this is UNLV's AD. On the Pac-12, Eric Harper on remaining in the Mountain West. For one thing, the Pac-12 is no longer what it once was. It's the same logo, but without USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Utah, it's not the same conference, and that's no disrespect to those schools in the Pac-12 right now, but it's true. Like, that's the thing I will not at all blame any team who didn't go into the Pac-12 when they were offered was they have, they have to prove that it's a better conference than the Mountain West right now. They have to prove that. We don't know that until they start playing each other.
I mean, are people upset about this quote?
No,
I assume
I
out
just
west.
thought it was just,
I assume I'm sure there's probably some Oregon State, Washington State fans that don't love that quote, but he's absolutely correct. I mean, and he even says no disrespect. I know sometimes that's what you say when you are being disrespectful, but I think in his case he means it, and I think he's just saying the obvious. Like, if you were to take the Big Ten and Michigan, Ohio State, and I know it's different now because, like, let's say pre-West Coast expansion Big Ten, and you were to take Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Michigan State and whoever you want to throw in there, and they were all to go bolt for the Super 24 or whatever, and then the Big Ten added like 5 teams from wherever the hell they're adding them. Is that the same Big Ten without Ohio State, Michigan, so on and so forth?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. No. So, I mean, I think that's the point, and I think that's the obvious point is that it's not. So, I mean, I can see where you would take that as a dig. I don't know what the intentions were here other than just clearly laying out why they did not go and join the pack like so many expected that they probably would. I don't know what their grand plan is. I know some seem to believe that it's that Big 12 invite one day that could be coming. I don't know how realistic that is or not, and I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend it's a big thing because I really have no idea what sort of level of interest there is. I mean, they just turned down Memphis, and Memphis was trying to buy their way in. So I don't know what UNLV or anybody else is looking at as far as non-power schools trying to move up a level at this point. But they have their strategy. We'll see if it works or not. I assumed they were going to be in the Pac-12 for a variety of different reasons, but I can understand why it wasn't this automatic, like, oh my God, sign us up right away, because it's not the same pack. It's the pack in name, and it's got 2 schools that were in the pack, and it's a bunch of new faces. So yeah, it's not the history of the pack attached to that conference the way that it was looked at just a couple or 3 years ago even. So yeah, I don't know if anybody's blowing this up and making a big deal, but he's just saying the truth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From the web files this week, Ward Manual to put fines at that level that they did. To me, that was too far, way too far for what these violations were. That's Ward Manual, Michigan AD, on the Connor Stallions. Connor Stallions is a different guy. He's into green onions. But on the NCAA sign stealing investigation. So, like, he thinks it's too much. Everybody else thinks it's not enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the not enough category. I don't think this is not going to stop. Like, nobody in that press conference is like, okay, well, what's going to stop you guys from doing something like that next time?
I guess not having to pay tens of millions of dollars, but we'll see if they even have to do that. I mean, yeah, I'm really bored with this story. I think that it's a fun story to talk about if you're looking for a big reaction, because Michigan's got as big of a fan base as anybody. So it's a great way if you want to, poke at the Wolverines to get a reaction, or to be pro Wolverine and side with them. But as much as an influence as they have and as big of a school as they are, I do not care about this. I didn't care about Connor Stallions other than I got really sick and tired of seeing this guy. I think he's a goof. And I think if you're a Michigan fan, he's a fun little tale to spin and talk about years down the line for whatever you want to credit him for helping you win a national championship or not. But yeah, if I don't ever see that guy's name on my screen ever again, I'll be totally fine with that. And I'm not surprised they disagree. Wow. I mean, the school that got punished doesn't think the punishment fits. So that's no new thing whatsoever. I disagree with him. But I'm not going to get into the details of why I disagree and all that. I think that gets into this whole well, it's not technically illegal, and I just don't care enough to debate and to go back and forth on what the lawyers are you're saying as far as what's cheating and what's not cheating and what constitutes punishment and what doesn't. I mean, my eyes glaze over. I think Michigan knowingly bent the rules as much as they could possibly bend them. And even if that was just pretending they didn't know this other dude existed, doing all this really weird stuff that apparently was not attached to you at all, even though you're deleting text messages and doing all sorts of weird stuff like you're trying to cover up a murder, but okay, people are throwing phones in lakes. Like, there's just a lot of I don't know. Just a lot of back and forth that goes nowhere because Michigan fans going to refuse to believe anything other than it was a clean win. And they've got a lot of people and a lot of lawyers in their fan base, and everybody else is side-eyeing it and going, yeah, like, I don't think they should take it away, but you kind of probably did. And it goes nowhere. It's just, so I just, I'm not surprised the AD at Michigan thinks they got slapped too hard, and they're going to try to whittle that down.
Craig, everyone knows it was an Ohio State fueled conspiracy. Max Olson, ESPN.com, joins us now. And Max, saw if you go to that last slide, note this week about the amount of transfers Power 4 teams brought in and how many snaps that they crunched. West Virginia at the top. How hard is this to equal out? Because if you've got 57 transfers compared to 38 and the snaps, like, how difficult was the math to figure out the true value in each of those starts and players?
I appreciate you guys having me on as always. The only difficult thing was looking up the career snaps and starts for 1,400 players. That was a little bit time consuming. But no, it's the post on ESPN.com today. It's just comparing 1 to 68. How the Power 4 rosters compare this offseason in terms of the snaps and starts they added via the portal during the portal windows. And so, top of that list, like, you're gonna have West Virginia, who obviously has is the most Colorado complete rebuild that we're seeing this year. The West Virginias and Purdue's and those kind of huge year one rebuilds are going to be at the top of that list. But so are some of those programs that spent a lot of money in the portal and tried to flip their roster. And I think we, as I wrote in the piece, this time a year ago, we were not talking about Indiana or Arizona State or SMU as playoff teams. And so I think you got to appreciate that nowadays, if you make the right moves in the portal, you can, or as we saw with Vanderbilt last year too, if you make the right moves, you can really change your fortune in 1 year. So trying to kind of compare all those, there's obviously still a ton of schools. Clemson's at the bottom of the list. There's still a ton of playoff teams that didn't need that much in the portal, but certainly more guys transferring to Power 4 schools this year than ever before.
Max, I'm looking at the top 10, half of it's the Big 12, right? West Virginia, Arizona, Houston, Colorado. So not quite half, but pretty close to that. What do you think? There's a couple of storylines with coaches returning to where they were before, and Rich Rod, certainly a very polarizing guy, fun guy to talk to, and they're trying to rekindle some magic there in Morgantown. We've seen that you don't have to do only bring in 10 guys, that you can do these massive overhauls. So that's what they're banking on. But do you have any sort of a feel of what to even expect out of the Rich Rod era 2.0?
Yeah, I think that one is going to be because of what they've done and bringing in 50 transfers. I think they are a bit of a wild card team this year that, what they look like in September versus November. I think the difference there is going to be pretty interesting to track. That's a team that, part of that was with Rich Rod and the staff he brought from Jacksonville State. Look, part of that is they had a lot of guys obviously entered the portal at the end of the season after Neil Brown was fired, and a lot of guys that went off to Power 4 opportunities. And so part of that is by necessity. We got to replace these starters. We got to replace this depth. But certainly West Virginia took it to another level at the end of the spring when they cut 20 guys from the roster, including freshmen who had just signed with the program in December. So certainly they were very all in on hey, we are going to make this roster to our liking that fits the way we want to play and fits what we need. And in the winter and spring portals, they were aggressive as hell in terms of going out and getting what they think they need. And look, that can be challenging. Obviously it's a lot of money to spend on 50 guys, right? But certainly I think you see Rich Rodriguez has a lot of support from Ren Baker and the fan base there to go out and make a lot of moves in this first offseason. So I think it's a team that, like a bunch of these that in the Big 12 or the ACC, it's going to kind of depend a little bit on can you hit on the FCS guys you take and some of those guys that you maybe reach for a little bit. But I think they got some good players. I mean, West Virginia's just one that took a ton on both sides of the ball, and it's going to be a totally different team than they had a year ago.
Max, Cincinnati and Nebraska tonight. This is two teams in year 3 of their head coach. We talked to Scott Satterfield at Big 12 Media Days. We talked to Matt Rule just the other day, and both of them have a very similar confidence in where their cultures are, where the locker room is, and all of that before you even get to the on-field improvement of talent. This is kind of a sneaky, under-the-radar good game to start off the season in Arrowhead. I would pick Nebraska to win it, but it would be far from shocking to see Cincinnati sneak up and get one on the Huskers.
Yeah, and this is probably, if I had to guess, probably closer to a 3 to 7 point game than a blowout. If you ask me, and part of that's just season opener, a lot of new parts on both sides of the ball. But same thing for me. In conversations with folks in Nebraska and in conversations with Scott Satterfield and his players at Media Days, Cincinnati, they certainly feel like this is the best team they've had since Satterfield got there. And I know, there's a ton of confidence around Brendan Thorsby, who we don't really generally talk about as like a top 10 quarterback in the Big 12, but one that has a lot of like good traits as a quarterback, as an athlete, and inconsistent last year, but I think they really feel like he can take a big step up. They went out and got him better receivers in the portal. I know that was a big step for them to give him more confidence this year. And Tyson Vite's going into his second year of running that Iowa State defense there for the Bearcats. I think they're going to be better. I think they feel like they're going to be better. But on the other side, Nebraska, I think a ton of confidence that this is a team that's going to win a lot more than 7 games internally there. And part of that is again what they've done in the portal, getting Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter and the weapons for Dylan Raiola. I think that the big changes on defense there are Tony White going to Florida State, but Matt Rule, obviously, as you guys know, how much he trusts Phil Snow and then John Butler as well to run that defense. And so, I think Nebraska certainly should be the favorite in this one, and I think they will win. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit of a nail biter.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, Max. I don't like to make everything about like big picture. It's this conference versus that conference and all of that. But there is a narrative about the Big 12, and this is a weekend where they've got like 5 cracks at making some big impressions. Yeah. And Cincy versus Nebraska is one of those. There's also 2 games on Friday. Let's talk Baylor-Auburn, man. This is a game that I think a lot of people assume Auburn's just going to kind of out-talent Baylor, and that's sort of where my head was in trying to figure out like what pushes this one way or the other. But I think people are underestimating if they don't think Baylor's got some pretty solid talent built up. So what do you think about the biggest non-con game in McLean Stadium's short history?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think that there's a real awareness there of like the pressure that's on Hugh Freeze this year, and part of that is just with the roster they've built, and look, they're obviously making a big bet there on Jackson Arnold being the guy, and he needs to get his confidence back after a really rough year he had at Oklahoma. But I think there's a ton of pressure on Hugh Freeze and his team in this game, and I like what they did to upgrade their roster, and they certainly have the pieces to be a lot more competitive in the SEC, but man, if he loses this game, it is the noise is going to turn up there, and so I feel like it is kind of a must-win for Auburn. I really do, and them just having a little bit of positive momentum there, and I think that's a great position for Baylor and for Dave Aranda, and certainly like a team that you're right, like they don't get a ton of like praise of like, oh, they have all these all Big 12 players and stuff beyond the quarterback, and so it's like I think it's a great spot for Baylor, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Baylor is able to take this thing 4 quarters and beat them.
Max, last thing before I know you've got to go. Texas and Ohio State. That's the story of the weekend. Who you got and why?
I got Texas. I do think that you're going to see an experience obviously on both sides at quarterback, and I think that Julian Sain is. It's going to be pretty fun to watch him because he truly is kind of like, obviously he was a 5-star recruit. He's not just nobody, but like definitely a bit of a mystery. We just have not seen very much tape from him, and he's going up against an excellent defense. And so I think that's probably the disadvantage for Ohio State here a little bit. I think he's going to be really good this year, but man, that is a brutal test to really start your career as a QB1 for the Buckeyes. I like Texas. Obviously there's going to be all this fixation on the broadcast and everything around Arch and how well is he playing and is he living up to expectations and all this kind of stuff. But to me, the key with Texas is just getting C.J. Baxter back and having him and Trey Wisner and all the talent they have at running back. Like, I think that against a new DC and Matt Patricia and a lot of new pieces on defense for Ohio State, like I like Texas just being able to kind of control the game on offense.
Max Olson, ESPN.com. Max, Craig.
Hey, fun to talk about some games with you, Max. Been a while.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah.
You didn't ask me about any NCAA BS or any of that kind of stuff. I love it.
Me too. Me too.
No, it's it makes it for better. Max Olson, ESPN.com. Max, talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right. Max Olson, Sam Kahn, who actually I think Max had to move up because Sam demanded that he have an opening act.
He
wanted the crowd to get loose first beforehand.
Oh yeah, Sam Kahn has to have that spotlight, baby. Has to have the prize spot. No, just coincidental to have both great guests and friends of this show, back to back and talking some football games. So we kind of scratched the surface there, but we got way more to get into. Yeah, we do, and we'll get into it with Sam Kahn, who I'm realizing now you may have to call on the phone. He might be in the car line, guys. So that's all coming up next. This is 365 Sports.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Right now at Berg Colgin Ford, we're bringing you an offer that's as big as America. Employee pricing for everyone. You pay what they pay. That means you drive home a new Ford F-150, Bronco Sport, Expedition, Super Duty. From America, for America. Employee pricing for everyone at BK Ford. Looking to sell your vehicle? Get top dollar for yours today. Don't miss out. Employee pricing is available for a limited time. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Experience better at BK Ford.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Live from the car line, which is, this is the P. I think we had Cole Kubalik yesterday, right, guys? Also in the car line. Yeah, that one, that's a very popular spot when we have our guests at 3:30 and 4 o'clock. But Sam Kahn of The Athletic, Sam, Max Olson opened for you today, and I told our viewers that that's because you demand an opening act from now on.
If I would have demanded an opening act, I would have demanded one better than Max. No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. I hope Max didn't hear that. Love you, Max.
Yeah.
No, I do appreciate that we are back to back every week, though. Whether it's me first or him, doesn't matter. But I do think there is something charming about that, especially because we worked together for about 10 years or so at one point.
Yeah, so, through different places too. You guys, I honestly I think of you guys as like Steve Martin and Martin Short. a little bit in that, like, when I first met the two of you, you were working together, right? And it was yeah. So in my mind, it's always like that. So Sam, we've got a very full slate of games now. I mean, like tonight, it feels like there's 12 games tonight, for crying out loud. There's so many, but in the Big 12 alone, there's a lot of intriguing ones. Craig just brought up Georgia Tech and Colorado, which is most weeks. If this game was in week 2, we'd probably be talking about it a lot more because it wouldn't get lost in the shuffle. But Georgia Tech, I think, is going to be a really interesting contender in the ACC. And then Colorado, Craig did mention early in the show, he's of the belief, I am too, that like us saying, well, like all their superstars are gone would be kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, no, I still think one of the underrated things that Deion Sanders has done at Colorado is stock the roster with a lot of talent. I know so much was made about how he did it and how many players they brought in, but they really, I thought last year, did one of the best jobs in the country at identifying portal talent and getting good quality guys in. And I think they've done that again this offseason. And I thought their plan at quarterback was excellent because you got the 5-star freshman, but you don't want to throw him to the wolves necessarily. And you go get a bridge guy in Caden Salter who's played a lot of snaps, the proven guy, he's a veteran guy, and he gives you that little bridge that you don't have to throw your 5-star freshman to the wolves. And so I thought that was a really good idea. I am fascinated by this Georgia Tech team too. Like you said, there's a lot of talk about just the kind of talent they are, and they could be a sleeper team in the ACC. I love their backfield with Haynes King, Jamal Haynes. There's a lot of talent there. And Brent Key's teams just play a style of ball that I really admire. I think they're physical, they're tough. They're going to give you everything. So of course, we all saw that 8 overtime game they took Georgia last year. And to me, the way Haynes King plays kind of embodies what Brent Key's team is all about. Like, he's a tremendous competitor. He's going to lay it all out there. He's not afraid to throw his body around. And he, for my money, he's honestly one of the most fun quarterbacks to watch. Got a kind of a funky throwing motion, but he gets the ball there and just a supreme talent.
Sam, of the mega matchups this weekend, of which there are many, if you can only pick one game, what are you watching? And if it's the obvious, don't feel bad because that's what probably 10+ million people are going to be watching as well.
It's actually not the obvious. It's not Texas, Ohio State. Although I am going to be watching plenty of that on Saturday morning. To me, it's LSU and Clemson.
Yeah.
And for the main reason, because of the two quarterbacks, because we're not getting 2 first-time starters like we do in Texas, Ohio State. We're getting 2 veteran guys. We're getting 2 guys. We could getting a guy in Garrett Nussmeier who could be a top 5, top 10 pick next year if the season goes right. We're getting Cade Klubnik, who maybe could get himself into the first-round conversation as well. And you're talking, I think, 2 real national title contenders. Not that Texas and Ohio State are not, but I think Texas and Ohio State have a lot more questions to answer across the roster with some of the losses they had. LSU loaded up in the portal to go get weapons for Garrett Nussmeier. They also shored up that secondary a little bit. And Clemson, of course, we know doesn't really use the portal, but they did get a few impact guys to add to the roster. And now this is, I think, the 3rd year now with Garrett Riley and Clay Klubnik together. So you want to see how that comes together. Adding Tom Allen as a DC. I'm really fascinated by both these teams, and I think that to me is the one that I've circled on my calendar for Saturday night.
I'm surprised it's not Bama FSU, Sam. I'm disappointed.
That is very curious though, because because of just last year, we just sort of gloss over like a mega matchup and that and just go, oh, well, it's FSU sucks now, so it's not going to be a game or something. That's kind of the vibe I get from it, but who the hell knows, man?
Yeah,
who the hell knows?
It's a very big number that Alabama has to cover on the road. So my hope is that Florida State knocks that down a little bit and Alabama doesn't cover. That's what I hope. Anything more
you
than
and a
that,
lot of degenerates out there.
Yeah. Anything more than that, like I'll seriously enjoy heavily, Sam.
Yeah, I think the reason why I think that perception is there is just because of what people think of Alabama's roster. I think they were able to retain so many of their guys. Obviously, they've got the new quarterback, and getting Ryan Grubb back as OC, I think there's a lot of optimism about, hey, this is a loaded team and a loaded roster. And if Grubb can pull off the kind of magic that you saw him pull off at Washington with Michael Penix and when he was together with Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson is not untalented. He may not be Jalen Milroe in terms of physical freak, but he can move around. He can throw the ball. He's a pretty good recruit. So I'm really intrigued by them. And Castellanos was an interesting addition for Florida State, and certainly to see Gus Malzahn, him running that offense, them kind of reuniting the way. I think that is going to be a good fit for Castellanos. And I think I'm not expecting them to cover, but if they do, I wouldn't be terribly shocked.
Yeah. Go ahead, Craig.
Oh, no. Do you have a follow-up to that? Or?
No, I was just going to ask about another game.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me go ahead and just roll down the lines. We're talking about some of the bangers. And I do want to ask you about like kind of the Big 12 narrative these first couple of weeks as well before we let you go. But Notre Dame, Miami, I feel like is the other kind of big one hanging out there that we haven't at least touched on. And I picked Miami because it's week 1 and nobody really knows, right? It's in Miami, but I can understand why Notre Dame is kind of an obvious choice for people as well. But this one's very interesting coming up on Sunday night, a great way to close the weekend.
Yeah, we have to do picks on our site every week, and this was the one I think I had the hardest time with, just because a lot of new skill guys in Miami, but they bring back 4 quality offensive linemen up front. So I think they're going to be able to bang with Notre Dame. Asking a first-time starter, CJ Carr, to go on the road and win that. Not that Miami is the most intimidating road environment. We know it's not. But I still do think it's going to be a tall challenge for them. So, and I'm not, and you guys know we've talked about this before, I'm not super in love with Carson Beck, but I think I kind of lean with the experience on that one. And so I'm kind of leaning Miami. The only thing that gives me pause is Mario Cristobal going to make a decision that makes you scratch your head and ends up costing them the game, which has happened before. Yep. But if he manages the game properly, then I think I kind of give Miami the edge here. And they've really built that roster up, and he's recruited at a really high level. You feel like it needs to kind of come together. They almost got there last year, except for that loss late in the season. I don't think they have that kind of ceiling this year, but they do have a lot of talent. And so I'm going to kind of lean on that early on and not bet on a first-time starter on the road.
Sam, I never thought I would say this as a person who, from my youth to all the way through college, would occasionally go to a game at the Orange Bowl, but I do miss the Orange Bowl. I think Miami, when you move into a stadium that when you walk from the parking lot or wherever you have to park in the neighborhood there to the front gate, and you don't think that you're going to get robbed, I think it makes people too comfortable. And I mean, look, the Orange Bowl was just raucous, and then you just can't. Yeah. I don't know if you can really create that environment for college football in an NFL stadium.
No, I'm very anti NFL stadium. Like I saw, there's so many of these kickoff games this weekend that are at those places, and I saw even I think is it Charlotte and App State are even playing like at the Panther Stadium or something like that. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? I don't understand that. They're so antiseptic. The atmosphere is not there. There was, to your point, Paul, there's nothing like the old Orange Bowl and the Hurricanes running through the smoke. Like that was just a vibe, and you're not going to get that. Now, the NFL stadium amenities are nice, but it's just college football is meant to be played in a college football venue, not an NFL venue, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, one of the other games I thought was really interesting this week is Syracuse and Tennessee, because both of them have quarterbacks that did not think that they were going to be quarterbacking at the schools that they're quarterbacking at as of like May 20th. Like they're just like they're there now, and once spring was over, they left. Now, obviously Tennessee has a big advantage. They're 14-point favorites in the game, but for both these schools, they are kind of in the same spot of let's hope this new guy works out pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. This was a tough one for me too when we were going through it, because I really do like Fran Brown, and I really love what he's doing there in Syracuse so far. And I thought the Angeli take was great. I thought it was a really underrated take because he wasn't a headline guy, but we've seen a little bit of what he can do, in the playoff, and he had a start in the Sun Bowl a few years ago. And anytime they've had to run Angeli out there in Notre Dame, he's been pretty solid. And so you like that about it. But I just think Syracuse roster, they got so depleted from bigger programs taking their guys in the portal. And they did a pretty decent job supplementing and filling the gaps. But they lost so much from a snap production standpoint. Tennessee, I really like Joey Aguilar. I do think he's got the tendency to turn the ball over a little too much for my taste, but I do think he fits the offense really well. the type of things that they need him to do to be able to throw the ball in the deep choice routes, to be able to run the ball when he needs him to do it. He can do those things, and he's got some confidence. He's got real arm strength. So I am kind of leaning toward Tennessee covering that, just because I think the talent gap, I think, is going to be a little too much. And I like Aguilar. I think he's going to be one of the cool stories. I think he's somebody that people are going to watch this season because of his tangential relation to this whole Nico circus, because he's the one that didn't, we know the whole story of the tree. Like, he was at UCLA and Nico goes to UCLA, ends up at Tennessee. I think you're going to have a lot of casual fans watching him closely just to see how he does, because, he ended up there because of the whole Nico circus.
So we know, and as a guy that covers the Big 12 on a frequent basis, there are narratives out there about every school and conference and whatnot, but there is the narrative they're not quite on par or deserving maybe of more playoff spots as opposed to other leagues. Sam, this is a big weekend as far as matchups with names. You got Cincy, Nebraska. You've got Colorado hosting Georgia Tech. You've got Baylor hosting Auburn. Utah at UCLA, and TCU at North Carolina. So 5 games right out of the gates. And I know other leagues can say, well, hey, Texas is playing Ohio State, Oklahoma's playing Michigan, so on and so forth, Auburn, Baylor. But for the Big 12 in particular, how big do you think it is on this opening weekend to go and put some wins out there and be able to have those data points if you need them at the end of the year?
I hate to say it, but it is, because I hate this discourse. I hate making narratives about leagues this early in the season. We used to do this with the Pac-12 from 2015 to 2020. Every time the Pac-12 teams would lose a game early in the year, we're like, this was in the 4-team era, of course. The Pac-12's out of the playoff, and I just think that's such a bad way to look at the sport. It's a bad way to think about the sport. But the reality is guess what? The power brokers are going to be using that data for their advantage. So if Auburn beats Baylor and Nebraska beats Cincinnati and UCLA beats Utah and even North Carolina, if all those results play out against the Big 12, that's going to be Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti or the fans that root for those conferences going to be like, see, that's why the Big 12 beats fewer automatic bids than our leagues or whatever. And I hate that. I don't like it. But yes, it is important. Like, if Baylor were to beat Auburn, I think that would be huge. I think the Cincinnati-Nebraska game tonight is sneaky interesting. I know everybody's talking about mini Mahomes, Raiola playing in Arrowhead tonight, but Brendan Sorsby is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. When we did our quarterback rankings in the offseason, we had him in the top 20 because of how much people liked his skill set. And I think, to me, Cincinnati's an interesting spot this year. That's one I'm really going to be keeping an eye on closely tonight. And then, but yeah, I think TCU, of course, on the center stage, like, everybody's going to be watching that game because it's the only game on Labor Day. It's on its own in a time slot. And I hope Sonny Dyson don't have the same issue that they had when the last time they were on that stage a couple of years ago against Colorado, because, buddy, we're not going to hear enough about Bill Belichick in North Carolina if that happens. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it is really important for the conference. If they want to be respected, you do have to win the games. And so this is a huge weekend for the Big 12 without question.
Sam, I would love to see a season where the Big 10 and SEC kind of top to bottom have the same kind of season that the Big 12 and ACC do, where, yeah, you've got a couple of elite teams, but everybody else is kind of balanced out. And even like the Big 12, it's not, but just to show that, like, hey, roster movement means something. There was not roster movement. Now there is. So there was zero roster movement, and we've gone from 0 to unchecked. And it's like Curt Flood in Major League Baseball. Once those floodgates open, the Yankees have won a bunch of World Series since that time, but they had 20 before then. They've won far less since that time.
And that's why I think it's so dangerous to use historical data in these arguments about the conference supremacy, because the last 20 years or 25 years, the SEC or some of the big time programs there were able to build super teams because you could hoard all the depth. That doesn't happen anymore. We're not in the super team era anymore. Nobody's able to do that. There are teams that are more talented than others, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, etc., Georgia, but there are much fewer of those teams now because the backups on those teams or the third string guys on those teams who would turn into 2 or 3 year starters down the road, they're leaving to go start somewhere else or to play and get paid somewhere else. And so to me, and that's what I'm interested to see too, is like, and I don't know, this is just anecdotal from the first week, but I feel like some of the lines that we've seen are smaller than they would be normally. And some of that may be because it's opening weekend, but I wonder if some of that is we're still trying to figure out which of these teams are good, and maybe the talent gap is closing a little bit. Now, the elite of the elite are still going to be the ones that recruit at the top 10 level. I think are still going to be up there. But I think when you get past that elite group of the ones that you really can feel are national championship contenders, I think the distance between them and the rest of the Power Four is really closing because of how much the portal has equalized and player movement has equalized all of this.
Sam, are you still in the pickup line?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm in until 4 o'clock.
Okay. Well, I hope you've got a good spot and you can exit quickly. Enjoy the games tonight, and we will talk to you next week.
No problem. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
All right. Sam Kahn of The Athletic. Guys, do you want to take a break here and then come back with some quick news and notes before Adam Eaton? Okay, we'll take a break right here. We come back, and I've got some news and notes from Pete Nakos that I thought were pretty interesting going into the weekend. And just a couple other things as we get ready from Adam Eaton of Sons of UCF. Correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. He's involved in our newsletter, correct?
Yeah, he's involved in the Big 12 newsletter that just got started a couple weeks ago, the UCF rep, if you will. So if you want to go subscribe to that, there's a lot of different things going on right now, but 365sports.video, and you can find the newsletter there. You'll find a couple places to put your name in, and got to get the text. Like I learned yesterday, when you sign in and it says like successful sign in, it's black on black. So it tells you that, but you have to like squint to see it. So tweaking some things like that. But if you go sign up like anywhere else, put your email in there, then each Wednesday you'll get a newsletter with just a page of all the various videos and stories written by Big 12 voices all over the league for each and every team. So, go sign up for that. That's 365sports.video each Wednesday.
All right. News and notes after this.
Allen Samuels in Waco, your Central Texas commercial headquarters. Get a new Ram 2500 crew cab starting at just $43,990. Don't miss the savings during the Make This the Summer event. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions IT success guaranteed.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend's Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back. 365 Sports. Just a couple quick things. Did you get Adam's email address, guys? By the way, I sent it over to you. Yeah, he texted me a few minutes ago. All right, this is just from Pete Nakos, but some stuff.
We need to promote On Three. They're not getting enough attention out there.
But you can take this down now. But this is just to remind me. I put it in the thing, and they made a graphic. I put it there, so I was out, and I needed to put it in the file so I remembered. But there are some interesting quarterback battles ahead of Week 1, and this is what jumped out to me. Dan Lanning has yet to say if Dante Moore or former Baylor commit Austin Novosad will start for Oregon this week. Mike Loxley at Maryland has not said who they're starting. UCLA transfer Justin Martin, Christian Martin, who was there last year, 4-star true freshman Malik Washington, actually might have the most momentum to get that job. At Maryland, Tulane, look for Jake Retzlaff and Brendan Sullivan at both taking snaps against Northwestern this weekend. And Rich Rodriguez has not, announced a starter. Nico Marchiol has the edge over Jalen Henderson, but right now, those are the subterfuge starting quarterbacks so far.
Yeah, so I guess we'll figure some things out this weekend. Think that there's a lot of different ones you threw out there, but the ones that stand out is Oregon. I just assumed Dante Moore would kind of have full control over that, but it's also at that point where Austin Novosad is needing to figure out what his future looks like, because if it's not going to be at Oregon as far as being the starter and getting some snaps goes, then he can go back out of the market and go make some more money and go play at a school just as big as Oregon, probably, as a former 4-star talent. I don't have any ill will against him. I think it was very shady, but it was like chapter 1036 in the shady signing day moves when he flipped on the morning of signing day from Baylor to Oregon. It was just, I'm going to have a hard time rooting for him based off that. But he's a good player. And so I think in my head kind of assumed that Dante Moore would grab that job and go run away with it, and Novosad would end up in the portal, but they're taking it all the way down to the wire. So I don't know how much of that is gamesmanship on the part of Dan Lanning, or how much of that is also just, no, it's that damn close, but it's a great problem to have. Although it'll probably lead to one of those two guys jumping in the portal here in about 5 months. But regardless, that's definitely an interesting one. And then you threw some others out there. What was the West Virginia one?
It is Nico Marchiol and Jalen Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Henderson from Texas A&M, and thought that was a good addition, but I just had assumed, again, that Nico Marchiol would be the guy when he stuck around. Figure with his experience and just kind of the long wait that he had as far as finally being able to be the guy at West Virginia. People were clamoring for him too early. He wasn't quite ready for it. So you had Neil Brown handle that the way that he did, but it was a pretty mediocre run that ultimately they just had to go, okay, we got to shake things up. We got to go and get somebody new. Oh, we got to bring Rich Rod back. But Marchiol stuck around, and I thought that would bode well. But, I guess Jalen Henderson's giving him a run, and I think Rich Rod's a guy who damn well knows quarterback. So I'm very intrigued by whoever emerges from that and kind of how he utilizes both of them this weekend. So that's like, who knows, like maybe Jalen Henderson's some like rising star that flips the narratives on their heads. We have no idea.
He's very mobile. I mean, he's very mobile, and like, it's not that Nico is statuesque or anything like that, but I think that gives him a leg up more than he would have had normally. I was thinking about it. I saw Garrett Green made the practice squad of the Bucks.
You called that too.
And, and I was thinking about Garrett just kind of when I read that, and then it hit me like, man, I would have really kind of loved to see him in this offense. Like that would have been fun because of like he's that kind of player that in the Rich Rod offense like really does well. So I would have loved to see that, but eligibility is what it is for the most part until it's not.
I mean, supposedly it is, and then somebody randomly sues and says JUCOs don't count anymore, and then eligibility is something then we realized, or they sue for a year they technically shouldn't have, and they get that. I still am confused as to how Ashton Hawkins is playing this year. I still have no idea, other than they made a mistake giving him a waiver and then made a mistake in taking the waiver. And so now they're giving him it's just, and who knows how many teams or athletes out there that maybe we just aren't close enough to realize or aren't at big enough places where it registers nationally that's also happened to. But yeah, I don't have any clue what eligibility is at this point.
I think Ashton Hawkins was just like, if you really took that to court and he said, look, I'm going to sue you because I didn't enter the NFL draft. So at minimum, you've cost me $250,000 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to sue you for that plus damages because you gave me this waiver when I applied for it. So I didn't, put my name in the draft, which now I can't do anything about it. So I'm stuck. So you cost me money. So it's just easier to let Baylor pay him the NIL that they were going to pay him in the first place than to potentially get sued by him. And then how many other athletes that would have the same thing?
Well, and then what happens if, would he play while he sued you, or how would that work? Yeah. I assume that he would, but it would just get messy. So they probably made the right choice in just saying like, let's not open up another can of worms and lose another lawsuit because that's what we do best. And let's just err on the side of caution and try to cover up our mistake as best as we can and just let the guy play. I don't know. But yeah, West Virginia is a mystery to me because of all of the turnover. The fact that we don't know, I think is really intriguing who the quarterback is going to be. The fact that Jalen Henderson is pushing Nico Marchiol is, I think, a great thing to have entering the season because, I guess it'd be good if Marchiol was just so good that he blew your doors off and Rich Rod's like, that's the guy. That would have been great too. But I don't think it's bad to have competition, especially we're at a program where you need as much of that as possible. Nobody should be guaranteed anything based on anything that's happened up until this point. So may the best man win, and may the best man win that can win you some games. And I think perhaps there's a chance that Jalen Henderson comes in and makes things super interesting, and West Virginia's a bit better than we expect because we weren't taking that into account or didn't know that would be the case. So, something to monitor this weekend. But there's a handful of those battles, as you mentioned, and those are two that are extremely interesting.
Yeah. Jaden Ott is not on the 2 deep for Oklahoma this week. He's coming back from an injury. He probably sits out this week because they got Michigan next week, I would think.
I would assume so. I think they're going to be okay this week. And then, Michigan next week will be a massive test for the Sooners. And I think likewise for the Wolverines. Again, just cool how we're getting Texas, Ohio State, and then also Oklahoma, Michigan in back-to-back weeks. That's pretty neat how all that worked out. And Oklahoma, I'm a guy who's a big believer in John Mateer. Mm-hmm. I watched him a lot last year and doing the Earl Campbell Award, him being a Texas high school alum, got a lot of his news coming across my feed and following along with his numbers, and was really, really good there for a stretch last year. And then just a combination of things at Wazoo, didn't finish very strong. But I also am like a little bit afraid he's being overhyped and like overmodulated with how good people expect him to be, because it is a change going from Wazoo to then playing Michigan in week 2 at Oklahoma and then Texas and so on and so forth. So he's a really talented player, but I would be lying if I told you that I'm convinced that he's just going to come in there and tear it up. I think that they have solved their offensive woes. I think they've got the right OC in there. I think they've got some really talented skill guys. I think the offensive line just needs to show up, and they would be better than last year's offensive line. But I'm almost like being cautious now at this point with John Mateer, because I feel like the way he's being talked about, he's like been there, done that 2 times over. And it's like, he was really good last year when he was really good, but it wasn't all great. And there is maybe an adjustment to take into account. So we'll see. But I would not, and I'm not trying to be the guy who covers all my bases so I can never be wrong. You know me, I admit when I'm wrong, and I do what you're told not to do. And I say, like, hey, remember when I was wrong about that? Well, here you go.
I think it's great to lean into when you're wrong.
I think so too.
It's great. Like, oh man.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not fake, so I'm not going to pretend and try to fool people that I'm always right about everything. But I would not be surprised. Like, if John Mateer is disappointing because he's been so overhyped, I would not be surprised by that. But if he turns out to be great, then based on when he was really good last year, yeah, it could be a hell of a lot of fun if he hits his groove.
You know, I think it's a sign of good leadership and good character if you can answer the question with a smile, like, hey, tell me about things you were wrong about. And you can be like, oh, man, I can tell,
Where do we begin?
Yeah, where do we start? This is hilarious. Okay, is Adam ready to go? Okay, 1 second. Just to back you up here, this is from that same Pete Nakos article, but he put it as his quote of the week. It's about John Mateer from a Power 4 GM on the impact that Mateer will have at Oklahoma. He's a monster, and he's dynamic. People should have seen him coming out of West Elm. When we played him last year and tried to make with a passing game, he said, F it, I'm running it. And it turns out he's a running back too. He's a complete quarterback. People don't seem to grasp that. Oklahoma hit a home run. It makes the money spent on hiring Ben Arbuckle worth it, and he's good too, an absolute effing game changer.
Yeah, no, he's really fun to watch. I think the country who didn't watch much Wazoo football is in for a real treat. I'm a guy tempering his expectations a bit because it's been so positive and so glowing, and that's a program that knows successful quarterbacks. But last year was obviously a mess, so I think I'm just going into this season when it comes to everything and going, that's got a chance to be great, but I need to see it first. But yeah, you watched him last year. You know that Oklahoma's got a dude for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Adam Eaton, Sons of UCF. And, of course, part of our Big 12 newsletter now. He's part of the team. Super happy to have Adam on board. Craig and I have both been guests on the Sons of UCF podcast. They do a great job. Let's just get right into it. Before we talk about expectations for the season down the line, Adam, you're locked in for a game tonight against Jack State, a team that is kind of like nebulously terrifying in that they keep losing coaches and they keep kind of like staying the same level. And it's a good test for UCF right out of the gate, isn't it?
It sure is, Paul. I call this one the nobody knows anything bowl, right? Because UCF 60-something new players. Jack State obviously went through a roster reinvention as well with Rich Rod leaving and Charles Kelly coming in. So not a lot's known for about either team. So this is a tricky first game. Scott Frost said that as well this week because you can't really scout tape. Are you going back to, 2 seasons ago, 2 coordinators ago, two schools ago, right? So this is a really you don't know anything bowl, but obviously UCF has to be prepared. Jack State obviously is a team, to your point, Paul, that's always ready to play, even though you may not know the roster. Gavin Wimsett, the quarterback, has got some experience at the P4 level at Rutgers and at Kentucky. So it will be a tricky spot for a Knights team that we don't know much about either, right? Because there's a lot of newness there. So if you're tuning in tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus, it's the Get to Know Everybody Bowl because everyone's still trying to figure out who both these teams are.
Well, and UCF, we at least now know they've got their starting quarterback, Cam Fancher, named earlier this week by Scott Frost as the starter after a battle with Taven Jackson, Curry Brown. And I guess kind of what's been the response to that? What was your response when you saw that? I assume there's probably some indication like, hey, it could go this way. But when it did officially, kind of what did that create in your mind as far as what to expect moving forward?
Yeah, not a ton of surprise. Last couple of weeks, you've kind of heard from Scott Frost, some other folks inside the program, that it was maybe trending this way. I think what it tells you guys is, Scott Frost right now is valuing somebody who's got experience. Cam Fancher's made, 20-something plus starts as time in Marshall at FAU. So he's valuing that experience. And from what we've heard, he's been the most consistent, right? So, he maybe isn't making the big splash wow play that you may see from quarterbacks, but he's also not doing the thing that's catastrophic. And I think that's a word Scott Frost has used a lot, is not making catastrophic plays. I think that's what Cam Fancher's provided. Talking to Cam, personally, he's told me he feels really good about the playbook. He feels really good about the system. He feels like he's grasped the system. So I do think that probably gave him a little bit of a leg up on the other guys. But listen, I don't know how closely you both follow social media. UCF put a graphic out that announced Cam Fancher as the starting quarterback, and it said, for Jack State. And so I think that leads us to say, guys, this quarterback competition is probably not over. My guess would be you'll see another quarterback play tonight. And Cam Fancher may be the first one out, the first one who's kind of earned the opportunity to earn this job. But I don't think Scott Frost will be afraid to play one of the other guys, if not both of them, in this game. And with UCF's schedule, they open with Jacksonville State, then they have North Carolina A&T, then they have a bye week. Then they have the Fighting Bill Belichick's of North Carolina. So you might see this drag in the first 3 weeks of the season, including the bye, and perhaps you won't know UCF's official starter until the September 20th contest against the Tar Heels.
You said you got to get to know everybody. Is there anything that you are sneakily confident about without full information?
I think the running attack, Paul, is going to be good for UCF. Miles Montgomery flashed a ton last year. He sat behind a guy named R.J. Harvey. You may have heard of him. He's not Broncos, right? So, but he flashed in the opportunities he had to back up R.J. Harvey. Jaden Nixon, a former Big 12 player at Oklahoma State, comes in. He's got a ton of speed, and he's got a ton of experience as well. So I think UCF will be able to run the football. I think they'll be okay from the running back position. Can they block up front? I think that's another story. I think the other element is the defensive line. I mean, they've got a ton of talent coming back on that D line. Nigel Lee Kelly is a name you hear a bunch on all Big 12 lists. They've got a guy in John Walker, the highest recruit in history, is coming back off injury. They got a guy in Sincere Edwards who had a good freshman season at Pitt. So I think the D line will be impressive for the Knights, and I think they'll be able to run the football. Again, the passing game may be still in question, but I think you can count on Miles Montgomery and Jaden Nixon to be able to take the rock and get UCF some tough yards. And I think that's what you'll see out of Scott Frost early on, is establishing the run, giving Cam Fancher some time to maybe settle in and then make some throws down the field as the defense presents itself.
I really liked the Jaden Nixon pickup. He's a Texas guy. He played at Oklahoma State there for a little while and then had some big performances at Western Michigan last year. I think that was an excellent pickup to pair with Miles Montgomery.
Yeah, almost 1,000 yards last year, Craig, at Western Michigan. He's also going to return kicks for UCF as well, too. So,
nice.
In talking to Miles Montgomery, I asked Miles to describe Jaden Nixon, and his word to me was speedster. And so, again, UCF fast was the mantra last time Scott Frost was here. He's bringing that back again. I think Jaden Nixon, to your point, fits that to a T, right, with what he can bring from an offensive perspective. So I think they bring a good 1-2 punch. They're kind of different runners. I think, again, Miles is more of a want to bowl you over, knock you out kind of guy, even though he's 5'8", 5'9" in stature. And I think Jaden can turn on the speed when he needs to. So I think this running attack could be sneaky good for the Knights.
I know that most fans aren't sad that Gus Malzahn left and went to Tallahassee. The relationship ran its course. What do you think in the immediate will they miss from him that will eventually get solved just over time and transition?
It's a good question. I think for all of Gus's maybe quirks as a play caller and as a program runner, he did a really good job in two areas. One, he was really good at fundraising. Gus was out and shaking boosters' hands and shaking donors' hands and talking to people. And I think UCF saw a boon from a financial standpoint in Gus's tenure. Gus was also really good at recruiting, but this is a tricky one, guys. We talk about this all the time. Gus was able to go out and get the 4-star guys, maybe the kids who, weren't considering UCF in previous seasons. Gus was able to get in those living rooms, talk about Auburn, talk about beating Nick Saban, right? And I think he was able to get some kids at UCF. Scott Frost hasn't really had that success yet. The level of 4-star recruits under Malzahn to Frost, the ratio is very much skewed right now in Malzahn's favor. So I think those are two areas where Gus was really strong for the Knights. I think he was really good at fundraising off the field. I think he was great in living rooms. Frost is a little bit different personality. I know you guys talked to him at Big 12 Media Day. He's not going to be the kind of guy to walk over and give you a big hug and flash a big smile at you like Gus Malzahn is, but he's got a sneaky, quiet confidence and a swagger about him that plays really well when your team is playing really well. So I think what Frost needs is this Knights team to maybe surprise some people and have a good season. I think he can catch up quickly in both those areas.
Yeah, he's not a Joey Maguire or Rich Rodriguez personality-wise. Like, those would be the polar opposites for me. And when we talked back then, I remember just didn't know what to feel about Scott Frost, and kind of got like a weird vibe, but not necessarily in a negative way. I just didn't really know how to describe it. He's learned lessons. Life has moved on. UCS had their time away, and so has he. And just what does it all feel like now, Adam? Like, is it just uncertainty driving the car right now, or how would you describe what the anticipation level or the feeling is in Orlando when it comes to what they're looking at this year?
I've kind of framed it up, guys, as a good argument between your head and your heart. right? Because for UCF fans, Scott Frost brought for them the best seasons of their life in 2016 and obviously 2017, right? So your heart says he's coming back home. He's back where he belongs. He's getting the band back together. Mackenzie Milton on this coaching staff, right? So he's getting everybody back together. It just has that nostalgic vibe of 2016, 2017, right? Then the head kicks in and you go, well, there are some struggles in Nebraska, some struggles in one-store games. This isn't the American Conference anymore. Now we're in the Big 12, 63 new players on this roster. So I think there's optimism that he's back. I think it feels right for Knights fans to have him back, wearing the black and gold polos and, talking about UCF again. But I think a fan who's informed says, hey, there are some ways that this can go badly, but I think everybody's just excited that he's back. And look, the next coach is always the savior of the program, right? And obviously things, to your point, Paul, did not go well under the Gus Malzahn era. So to not only have somebody new, but have somebody come back that was a part of memories that Knights fans have, they'll never forget. There's a ton of nostalgia, but let's see how that plays out in 2.5 hours when we kick the ball in the air and all of a sudden we're playing the team and we have to see how the team looks on the field.
How do you think Gus will do going back to just a play caller rule?
That's a great question. Like, I think if I had to be critical of Gus Malzahn's play in Call of Duty, and to be fair, Gus has called more football plays than I have, right? I think what Gus does is, he does a good job of getting his playmakers the ball, but I think he gets really predictable at times. A lot of jet sweeps. Florida State, get ready for some jet sweeps in your life because Gus is a huge fan of the jet sweep. My criticism of Gus has always been when it's time to do the thing that you need to do to get 1 yard. It's 3rd and 1. It's 4th and short. I feel like Gus always tries to trick the other team as opposed to going with a play that he knows works. UCF fans will remember 2023 at Oklahoma. UCF rallies back to come to a late touchdown. They have a chance for a 2-point conversion to tie Oklahoma, and we decide to run a wide receiver pass to a quarterback in the end zone. When you have a guy named R.J. Harvey, by the way, and you have a John Rice Plumlee, who was a heck of a dynamic athlete. So I think Gus always tries to maybe out-trick himself. It's funny with Thomas Castellanos, too, by the way, who was at UCF with Gus, leaves Gus to go to Boston College, then comes back and reunites. Curious to see how that marriage works out. But Gus has always just said he's an old football coach. He's an old ball coach, wants to call plays. And so we'll see how his system plays out. But I think, again, he gets predictable at times. And Florida State fans, watch out for the trick plays because they come out of nowhere and sometimes at the worst times as well.
Adam, so what do you, obviously a win tonight, but what do you think is success in year one for Scott Frost? How should people measure what they're watching? I know it's hard to tell fans that hey, you have this new coach. He won here before. We know he can do it, but circumstances are certainly different than they were in the past. So you have to take that into consideration. So what is real progress that fans can watch for?
Yeah, if you want to look in the standings, guys, it's bowl eligibility, right? Get to flirt with bowl eligibility, get to that 5, 6, 7 win mark where you may be eligible. But I think more than that, reestablish the identity of the program. Are we UCF fast again? Can you do some of the things you used to do? I think those are the things that some Knights fans be looking for. But if you can get that 5, 6, 7 win ratio and you're flirting with bowl eligibility, I think that would be a huge step forward in year one for Scott Frost. But we've been telling fans on the newsletter, I heard Craig you talking about earlier, the wins and losses may not just be in the wins loss columns this year, right? You may have to look at other ledgers to see how UCF's building. But I think if you get to that 6 win mark, Paul, I think UCF fans will be pretty happy in year one going back to a bowl game.
Yeah. Adam, thank you so much. Between you and our next guest, Chad Brendel, I'm going to cry on the air because the Cowboys have just traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
Well,
yeah,
he's so stunned, Adam, that he's looking for you to react for him because he has no idea.
I'm also a Cowboys fan, so that is not good news for me either. And
you are?
I am. I'll never forget where I was when I heard this news. So I'm glad I could share this heartbreaking moment for you. I'm effortlessly trying to figure out what we got back in return. I hope it's everybody.
Hold on.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
It is. I just saw his contract that they've already reached with the Packers.
Oh my gosh!
Because the Packers talked to his effing agent. 4 years, $188 million, highest paid non-quarterback in the league.
Wow.
Jerry's gonna.
Yeah. Adam, I'll have to have you on the all-new but refurbished Catalina's Cowboys.
Yeah, now you got a Cowboys guest that you can have on as well. You guys can go talk about this, but I might need to take over the show so y'all can go to your corners and figure out what you need to figure out emotionally about this, because, wow.
Hey, Garrett, where's Big Papa's medicine?
Yeah, there you go.
It's right over there, I think. Yeah, okay. Adam, thank you so much. Enjoy the game. We will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, 2 first-rounders. I don't want to see Jack McKenzie, our former producer, as a big Packers fan.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Adam. He is a part of that newsletter we were talking about earlier at 365 Sports Newsletter. He's our UCF guy. So you'll see each week in your inbox an article by Adam and a video by Adam and the crew at Sons of UCF, who do an amazing job covering the Knights, and very thrilled to have him and his support as well along the way and putting this together, and looking forward to being a smarter fan about UCF and the rest of the programs because of guys like Adam. And, yeah, what timing. Would have had no idea that he's a Cowboys fan.
He actually
as that news
told me that last year.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah.
Well, I had no idea, so I would have just assumed like Buccaneers or Jags or something, but wow. That is, are we sure this is an NFL Centel?
No, it is. It's everybody.
Oh,
Adam
it's cool, though.
Jeremy Fowler.
Ian Rappaport says Kenny Clark is going to the Cowboys.
Yes, 2 1s and Kenny Clark, which this is them admitting that they can't sign Micah Parsons and they can't draft defensive tackles.
Jeez, man. Well, hey, they got a cool show on Netflix, though.
Yeah.
Well, as a Commanders fan, as a friend first, I feel for you. As a Commanders fan, thank you, Jerry and Steven. And I know that we were just sort of dismissive along the way of surely they will work something out, because you know why? That's the sane thing to have thought. But I really do truly feel like only the Jones family would have actually allowed this to occur. And I'm not even trying to poke at you here. I don't know any other organization that would have.
They never do. Like, that's the thing. Like, when they want to pay a player, when they get it done.
Right.
But this one took such a weird turn with Jerry and Steven in that, like, okay, so Jerry talks to him in the spring and he thinks they have a deal, and then he refuses to talk to the agent, which is what the rule is. You have to talk to the agent.
He got to try to get around David Mulugeta, who's basically like the agent of the stars now.
Yeah. So now you've got you created this tension where there wasn't some, and Micah actually wanted to get it done, which is why he did it. And then Jerry uses this weird mama and daddy, thing.
Like, I struck hole back in the day in Arkansas.
Yeah. Then Steven says in the opening press conference, Micah has got to want to get paid. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what the F does that mean? In that he's your best player.
Right.
He's been your best player. He's an all-pro for his first 4 years in the league. He's the best pass rusher in the NFC. And you just traded him to one of the better teams in the league. Like, none of this makes sense.
No, it really doesn't. And I'm just glad that I can't relate to you. I'm glad the Commanders went and signed Terry McLaurin so we didn't have to let that drag on any further. And he deserved his money too. But, yeah, man, I think when we talk to John McClain, typically these types of things always come down to money. And that's clearly what was the driving factor here, is the money wasn't right because the two sides couldn't agree to the terms of the deal. So that still rings true. It always comes down to that. But I'm just at a loss to think that they actually allowed it to get to this point where they really moved him. And you knew something was going to have to give, though, because we were getting so close to the season, and this was clearly starting to turn very nasty and very public. And it did cross a line here, I think, in the recent days of a went for it. They'll figure it out to, like, damn, they might not figure it out, actually, in keeping him figuring it out. But, damn, they might actually do something. So, yeah, I'm sure our Packers buddies are thrilled right now, and they absolutely should be because, you won't have a couple of first-round picks, but you've got one hell of a defender in Micah Parsons now.
So the Cowboys will have 2 first-round picks the next 2 years. So, good. But
so is it one each year for the next 2 years?
I don't think the Packers have 2 this year.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so the Packers have already signed him to an extension. They've already done that.
That was a quick negotiation. Jerry made this like a years-long process, and they, in 10 minutes, got a deal done with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, because they knew exactly what it was going to be. And I've been texting with Jack, by the way, Garrett. My first response to him was not very friendly. But I don't understand how it got to this point. And like, this is the one, like Jerry does all these the same way. And he finally ran up against somebody who's like, you know what? I'm not going to put up with your bull crap.
That's what happened.
The rest of the league.
And I wonder too, if like the Mulligetta guys is suddenly like a problem for him.
Yeah.
As a result of this, which would be a problem for him because that's like all the top guys basically.
He's got a bunch.
He's got a lot of them.
He's got a bunch. He's like, he wins the award every year for like, you know, he's one of the guys who's like, hey, top agent.
I think he's like a UT grad. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, he's probably like early 30s. I mean, he's like, we're going to hear about him for a long time.
I met him in passing when we had one of his players on years ago at a Super Bowl, like when he was a young agent. And like, he even then seemed to be like, oh, the people are going to like this guy.
Okay. He's 42 actually. Yeah. Sorry. He did go to Texas. He also went to University of Nebraska College of Law, apparently. So yeah, he's a little bit older than I thought, but he was the top agent last year, and he'll probably be the top agent this year again, especially with a move like this.
I'll tell you what, if there's a prop bet, I'm sure there's going to be a prop bet on the over-under of Micah Parsons sacks this year. Take the over. You will not see an angrier player this year. Oh, God.
Well, I guess at least he's not
probably fine.
Huh?
His back's probably fine.
Oh,
now.
I'm sure his back feels great suddenly, very, very suddenly. But at least he's not an eagle, I guess, or a giant or something. That would
like the Packers. Like,
but you see them as often as it feels like anybody who's not in the NFC East.
If you had to take in the NFC, the Cowboys' top 4 rivals, it would be the 3 NFC East teams and probably the Packers or 49ers.
Right? If we're doing protected rivalries for the NFL now.
If you're talking about the 5 teams Cowboys fans hate the most in the NFC, the Packers and 49ers are right after the 3 in their division.
For sure, yeah.
So you trade, like, you could, like, why is he not with the Falcons? Like, just give him the Falcons.
Yeah, or the Jaguars.
Yeah, something.
You know he's not going to do anything there that people are going to really make note of. So of the, I don't love talking about the money so much because it's so exorbitant now. And hey, get your paper, boo boo. But of the $188 million deal over 4 years, 136 guaranteed. $136 million guaranteed over the next 4 years for Micah Parsons, making $47 million average salary, as you said, highest paid non-quarterback NFL history. And that deal puts him over the top of TJ Watt, who had signed the most recent highest paid non-quarterback deal about a month ago, right before training camp started. So, yeah, Micah says he's tweeted, thank you, Dallas. Go Pack, go, and a GIF. Man, his podcast, boy. Yeah. Woo! That podcast that he has is really going to rack up the numbers.
I'm not to the point that you were with Luka and the Mavs, but like this pushes me to the line.
Yeah, because at least you knew this was coming.
This is a better trade than Luka was. I mean, they at least get multiple draft picks and a player that can play with their team for a long time out of it. Garrett, I'm going to need you to grab that glass right there, though, and
break it, grab jagged pieces, and put them in Paul's eyes.
Uncle Polly's medicine, and bring it to me because we'll have to do this before we get Chad on the air here. So,
well, how about this? He did write a long letter thanking Cowboys fans. So all this, he either typed that up and put it on a Cowboys backdrop, or his intern or somebody did that, but they had that ready to go right at 4:00. This long letter to Cowboys fans from Micah Parsons, and talked about growing up in Pennsylvania as a Cowboys fan and never wanted this chapter to end, but not everything was in my control. My heart has always been here and still, blah, blah, blah. But very nice parting words for North Texas and Arlington and the Cowboys and all of that. But, oh, man, I talk about how when I leave here, we probably should take a break before we get to Chad Brendel.
Yeah.
I talk about how sometimes when I leave here, I'll just pop on something just to change it up. And sometimes it's like serious. Sometimes it's just music. Sometimes it's the Ticket Up in Dallas. Today it will be the Ticket Up in Dallas because I'm going to have to hear what they're saying. about this.
Full meltdown mode. Can you take down the graphic because it's making me sad, Brandon? You are a Cowboys fan too, though, right, Brandon? Yeah. So we have two of them.
He's the one that laughs through the pain, though.
Yeah. Thank you to 10th Mountain Whiskey, one of our fantastic sponsors. Right there. See if we can get the bottle in the shot. There we go. 10th Mountain Whiskey. Oh, yeah, by the way, the Packers visit Dallas on Sunday night on September 28th. So a month from now, 30 days from now.
Exactly a month from now.
Dak Prescott gets sacked 13 times.
Well, thank you, Justin, for the $2 in the super chat and for being a part of the show. And I hadn't even thought about them meeting up soon, but exactly 1 month from today, we'll get Packers and Cowboys and Micah Parsons playing his old team. And wow, what a turn of events.
Man, that's smooth.
Yeah, well, at least something is. The negotiations with Micah Parsons and the Cowboys weren't smooth, so that's why we're talking about what we're talking about. But we got Chad Brendel coming up, so go ahead. Let's take a break. Paul will drown his sorrows, and I will be here to be emotional support as we all try to get through this afternoon together and lift Paul up from his misery here, as Micah Parsons is now a Green Bay Packer. Not something I thought I would be saying, but Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. All right, coming up next, we talked a little UCF. Well, Cincinnati, talk about the Big 12 area. They got a huge game coming up at Nebraska Arrowhead Stadium. Travis Kelce is going to be in the building. We'll talk about that with Chad Brendel, Bearcat Journal. Coming up next, this is 365 Sports.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget, from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560, or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Want to send a message to the show? Jump in the Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue chat room.
Welcome back. Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak here with you on 365 Sports, and good friend Chad Brendel on the show with us. And Chad, what's the biggest news in the Cincinnati world this week? Is it the game against Nebraska at Arrowhead, or is it one of your favorite sons getting engaged to the most famous person on earth?
So the biggest news in the Brendel household, I don't know if I've told you guys this. I think my daughter is named after Jason.
Yeah.
My daughter's name is Kelsey. So now my daughter is figuring out ways for her to get into the wedding. Like, she has told me to contact Jason and Kylie and let Jason and Kylie know that she'll babysit their 4 daughters so that she can maybe get in. Like, she's been concocting for days now ways that dad is going to get her into the Taylor Travis wedding. That's been the big story at the Brendel household.
No pressure, Chad. You tell her you get right on that. No problem, honey.
Yeah, I will make it happen somehow, some way. We'll make it. She's mad. She's got a volleyball game tonight. That's where I'm going. As soon as I'm done with this, I got the Simon Kitten volleyball dad quarter zip on. She wanted to be in Kansas City tonight because there's a very good chance that Taylor is there. So, can't win them all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chad, we talked to Scott Satterfield at Media Days. He had this glint in his eye. We keep talking about it, that he kind of knows something that maybe everybody else doesn't know about his team. He's very confident. Brendan Sorsby is back and healthy. He's shown improvement year over year in his career. So there's no reason to think that he won't be at least a little bit better this year, if not a lot. If he stays healthy, is there any reason to believe that this Bearcats team won't take a gigantic step forward?
I'm not ready for gigantic.
Yeah.
I do think they are going to be better. I do think they are going to take a step forward. The biggest question for me is that they have, in these 2 years, been prone to big mistakes that have cost them games. And big mistakes that, if they didn't happen, we'd be talking a lot differently about the Satterfield era so far at Cincinnati. We'd be talking about a team that easily could have gone 7-5 in the regular season last year. And if they go 7-5 and go to a bowl game and they return as much as they're returning now, boy, there's a lot of hype around Cincinnati. But they have made these mistakes, and they have put the opponents in better positions with more momentum in the closing minutes of games to get across the finish line. Before I'm ready to say they're going to make a major jump, I need to see that they have, gotten themselves into a position where even if a mistake happens, it doesn't snowball and it doesn't create a loss. I have to see that, but I do think this is the best talent he's had by far since he's been here. It's the deepest team he's had since he's been here. Now they have to go out and win games.
What did you think of the uniform update? And I guess some of that was new as well, right? Like the red helmet, the Cincy, rather than, the full logo. What did you think of the new threads?
I think what's happening tonight is hilarious.
Hilarious,
gentlemen.
Yeah.
They are going into Arrowhead Stadium. Cincinnati's the home team because this game was originally supposed to be at Nippert Stadium. They are the home team at Arrowhead Stadium. There's going to be 70,000 Nebraska fans in red chanting "Go Big Red," and the team on the field wearing red is not going to be Nebraska. That is an electric troll job to me. Highest level troll job. Go Big Red. The team in red is not Nebraska. I love it.
Yeah, somebody had to have figured that out along the way, right? Just kudos to whoever that was like, what would be great? Bring out these red uniforms at Arrowhead against Nebraska. So, yeah, I agree with you. Brilliant on whoever deserves credit, all the credit to you in the world. So this game, I don't think anybody is of the belief anymore that Nebraska is some unbeatable machine. We've all seen how the last 25 years have gone.
Their fans are still of that belief.
There are a lot of fans that still feel like it's the 90s and they're still not that far separated from it and whatnot. But what do you think about the matchup itself? What do you think the chances are of Cincinnati pulling out some magic tonight and grabbing a win, or just maybe being more competitive than some people who don't know any better assume that they could be?
Look, in examining roster to roster and looking at these teams side by side, there is not a significant talent difference between these two teams. There are a couple positions I think Nebraska has the edge. There are a couple positions I think Cincinnati has the edge. I think the two quarterbacks are pretty close. So it's going to be game one, you never know. It's going to be execution. Who is able to avoid that monumental mistake, that game-changing turnover or special teams gaffe? The team that plays cleaner is going to win this game. This is not, look, in 2018, we watched Cincinnati go into Michigan to open the season and get their teeth kicked in. There was no chance Cincinnati was going to win that game. 2019, Ohio State, no chance Cincinnati was going to win that game. That is not the case tonight. These two teams are not that far apart in talent. The team that plays a cleaner, better game is going to win the game. And I think that if you're Cincinnati, if you're a Cincinnati fan, that's all you can ask for in this situation.
So Nebraska went out and got some big wide receivers in the portal, and Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, to go with Dylan Raiola, whose his potential is through the roof, and we saw a lot of that last year when he was a true freshman. How do you feel about the defense? And look, Nebraska's going to be physical. Matt Rule plays physical football on both sides. How do you feel about the defense be able to withstand what will now be a probably bigger focus on stretching the field than Nebraska was able to do last year?
That's what we don't know about Cincinnati, is what is the ability level of their secondary. They think they have improved it substantially. They got a national all-name team guy at corner now, gentlemen. Matthew McDoom from Coastal Carolina. Just an all-name team. He's had a really good camp. Him and Logan Wilson, who will line up opposite him at corner, are both very talented, but they're both 5'9". Is Nebraska able to take advantage of that? And Cincinnati plays a lot of zone. Dylan Raiola has last year showed that he was good against zone. Do we see more man? Does Cincinnati mix it up a little bit to confuse him with their 3 safety look? That's really, when Nebraska's offense is on the field, that's really the question for me. I think Cincinnati's very good at linebacker. Cincinnati still has Dante Corleone. I don't know that they're going to get a ton of pressure, but they need to get some pressure to get Raiola off the spot. You guys are familiar with Dana Holgorsen. He likes to get the ball out quick as an offensive coordinator and then try to suck you up and then hit you over the top as the game goes on. How does Cincinnati, in their zone 3-3-5 scheme, how do they defend as Nebraska is trying to throw it to the backs, get it in the hands of Dane Key, who's an excellent playmaker? If Cincinnati can keep those gains at 3-4 yards instead of 8, 10, 12 yards, I think Cincinnati's defense is going to be in a good place. But that secondary for the Bearcats is almost entirely new. How do they perform under the lights, game one, against a team that wants to throw it around? This is not a Nebraska team that's going to run the ball a ton.
So Dante Corleone's had his fair share of successes and also his fair share of setbacks. What do you think he's poised for this year? And is he a guy who's finally going to feel like he's healthy and can put it all out there?
Yeah, I mean, he was healthy last year. He just, I don't know how mentally you handle that, right? To find out at 21 years old, you've got blood clots in your lungs. And, if he didn't catch that in time, like that, that can be fatal. Like, that's in your brain. How do you mentally get over that? I think he's had a lot of time to learn how to navigate and how to handle that he didn't have last year. I think last year, life just came at him really fast. And I don't think he was as effective as he had been the 2 previous years. I expect a big year from Corleone. I expect, Dana Holgorsen had the comment this week. If you watched his press conference, I believe he said, Corleone, the last time we played him, he retired 3 of my offensive linemen. Somebody said, what retire? He at beginning of the game, first series of the game, he killed all 3 of them, and they never recovered. He can do that to the interior of your offensive line if you let him. So I think he looked really good. He had a couple plays that were vintage Dante Corleone this year, where like the quarterback takes the snap, takes 1 second to turn and hand the ball off, and Corleone's right there in the backfield, like with his arms around the quarterback and the running back. And you're like, how the hell did he get here? How did that happen so fast? I expect a big year from Dante.
If you get in a room with him, can you pitch this to him? I mentioned this in the show the other day. You're our direct line to him. His sack celebration, since he is the Godfather, needs to be this.
I'll talk to him about that.
Yeah, I mean, like it would be. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be. I think it would, like, it's very subtle, and it's not going to get flagged if you just that thing.
Yeah. It probably would get flagged if he like pulled a horse's head out, and, like put it on the field. So this might work a little better. I'll discuss that on Tuesday when I talk to Dante. And if he does it, you guys owe me.
Absolutely.
I get him to do it. You owe me.
Oh yeah. No, you'll have. Look, again, as an Italian, I understand how favors work. Okay, I get it. Like that's how things go. So Chad, for Cincinnati fans, do you see them in a nice anticipatory spot for this team right now? Because they had Luke Fickell, who had the best team that you could ever imagine having at Cincinnati. And then obviously, you get to the playoff in those conditions with that kind of persecution on a team that's not in the power conferences and do it, he's going to get another job. Do you feel that, like, at least, hey, we think we see things are changing a little bit?
I think this fan base wants to see it on the field.
Yeah.
Like they're at a point where, okay, you've gotten a little grace, one because of the turnover in coaching staffs and roster, in part because the jump from the American Athletic Conference to the Big 12. People aren't thrilled with the way the last 2 years have gone, but I think there is like okay, now's time. Tonight is a big night for Scott Satterfield. Like it, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a must win, right? It's game one. You got a long season to go. You think you've got a really good team. You got a long way to go. But in terms of the fan base, it'll be interesting to see which way this goes. Because I think if they lose tonight, a lot of the casual fans, you're in Cincinnati. You've got the Reds. The Bengals are about to start. FC Cincinnati, the MLS team, is number one in MLS. Like, it is a tough market to get a foothold if you're not winning. And if they lose tonight, it'll be interesting to see the reaction from that casual fan, because it's hard to get them back in this town once you kind of lose that momentum, because there's so many other, it's not a big town. LA can support all these different teams. New York can support all these different teams. Cincinnati, 3-4 teams all going at kind of the same time. You need to win. You need to have momentum. This game is a big part of that, I think.
Yeah, you have to. If you have to make people pick their favorite, you got to make sure you're the favorite, right? Right. So if I'm a Reds fan and I'm a Bearcats fan and I'm a Bengals fan, like, where am I going to spend my money? Like, you do have to make sure that, like, you know what? I know that the Bearcats never going to let me down. Like, that's where you want to be, as opposed to like the Reds, which it's been a long time.
That's why UC basketball for so long had such a stranglehold on this town, because they were with Bob Huggins and then Mick Cronin. They were never going to let you down. They were the consistent winner. They always, would provide an NCAA tournament team, a team that was at the top of their conference. Like, whatever metric you want to use, landmark you want to use, they would meet it. And that won over this town. Cincinnati football hasn't, really, let's be honest. Mark D'Antonio to Brian Kelly, that was the beginning of Cincinnati football. Sure, they've been around for 130 years or whatever, but the beginning of Cincinnati football was that era. So it's really only been massively popular for 20 years. So it ebbs and flows. If you're not winning, it's hard to get this town to buy in. They for the national perception of this program, for the local perception of this program, a win would be massive tonight. A loss, and you take a chance that some of those casuals aren't going to jump on your bandwagon this year.
Yep, absolutely. Chad Brendel of Bearcat Journal. Chad, enjoy volleyball tonight.
I am also now the PA announcer for the varsity Simon Kenton girls volleyball team. I was told at the parents' meeting this year, by the way, we've volunteered you to fill this role. So I did 3 hours of radio yesterday, 3 hours of podcasting today, 3 hours of radio yesterday, 3 hours of podcasting last night, 3 more hours of radio this morning. Now I got to go do PA for a volleyball game and a post-game show. I'm not talking all weekend.
Yeah, just get yourself some nice warm tea with honey in it.
Bourbon. It's usually I go bourbon.
Hey,
yeah.
Look at this. This was my Cowboys traded Micah Parsons medicine right here.
Did you drink the first half when they traded Luka and the second half for Micah?
Craig is the Mavericks fan. I'm a Spurs guy. Okay. So no, Craig has left the Mavericks. Like I can't break up with the Cowboys.
You can.
Yeah. Craig was like, look, Craig's Tina Turner. I'm not Tina Turner. Craig eventually said, I'm out of here, Ike. And I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not coming back till there's new ownership, which could be never in my lifetime. But I think it's not apples to apples because we've known for a while Micah Parsons, this has been a thing, whereas the Luka thing was I literally woke up the next morning and all of a sudden this guy's gone, and it was just so completely out of nowhere. But, man, tonight ought to be a big night, Chad. Maybe a real big night, depending on what happens out there. But looking forward to seeing the Bearcats. And, man, appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it always. And if you think you got it bad, the Brown family has owned the Bengals the entire.
Yeah, they don't pay for hotel rooms.
No, they're never going to sell. Yeah. They're never going to sell.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Chad. Next up, Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, which will have other non-Micah related things, right, Craig?
I mean, I don't know. We might have a couple of things, but
I have to check with Mickey.
Also been
he's not busy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Dang. Hopefully, I mean, that's another 45 minutes, but yeah, that might be cutting it close now because of what he might have to do as far as writing articles and whatnot. Although this would be the greatest time to have him on.
Yeah,
would be 5:30. And I don't know, is Mickey shocked by this news, do you think?
I bet you he is. I mean, again, it's not like
because he's pretty pro Cowboys franchise. Like,
but they never there's never been when people say this always happens with Jerry. No, I can tell that's just the perception. This never happens with Jerry.
Well, the drama and stuff always happens with Jerry.
But
that's what people.
But they always get it done.
Sure.
I mean, you name a player,
But the haggling with a star player over what should be a routine contract.
You can go watch
the
documentary and watch the first one. It was Emmett. From Emmett, whether it's Emmett or if it's.
And you know what? When the Emmett one happened, people who were 31 years old now were being born when that happened, and that's how long this has been occurring.
So they've done that. Look, they did it with CD last year. They did it with Dak the year before. They did it with Des Bryant. It's over and over and over again, but they always got it done. Always got it done. And now, they just found the guy who's no, I'm not playing that crap. That's it. Everybody else does this early. You don't. So we'll talk about that and more next. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, presented by Alliance Bank. They take pride in making banking easy. AllianceBankTexas.com.
Welcome in. Welcome back. 365 Sports. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We'd appreciate that. And time to talk about a few things off the radar, but what's right in front of me is we have a couple of TVs here in the studio is fresh college football action. So don't leave, but if you've got us up on a laptop or your phone and you got another TV to spare, well, South Florida and Boise State in action early first quarter. Broncos with the ball, and looking forward to seeing Maddox, Madsen, and company and how this game goes. But, yeah, Boise State and South Florida getting the night kicked off, and what a busy night it is in college football. I'll work my way back around to that. But let's talk about some more Micah Parsons.
Okay, fine.
I can't get over it.
I can't either.
I can't get over it. And I don't even have any dog in the fight because I'm a Commanders fan. So, if anything, I'm happy. But I'm not like that when it comes to the Cowboys. I'm not a big – this isn't like Ohio State and Michigan for me with Commanders-Cowboys. It was a cool rivalry growing up, and then it wasn't as cool because they both took turns being just kind of bleh. And the Redskins took a turn where they didn't turn back for like 20 years, and there was a blip on the radar named RG3's rookie season, and then that ended in disaster. And so I'm finally back as of last year to actually being able to be excited, but I don't have that like hatred for the Cowboys that I would if I grew up in DC in the 80s and 70s and stuff. And so I've come from a place of having covered them as much as anybody else. And so I have, as weird as it sounds, not a rooting interest, but like a fondness, or maybe it's just a lack of hatred is a better way to put it. So I feel for my Cowboys friends because that's basically everybody that lives around here. Everybody's Cowboys fans. And I know that they got to be just like you, looking for the nearest bottle or just shaking their heads in disbelief that we've actually reached this point. But if you are just hopping on the stream and didn't join us about 15, 20 minutes ago, Paul got live on-air news that the Cowboys have traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers, and the Cowboys, in return for the Pro Bowl edge rusher, do receive defensive tackle Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks that will now be making their way over to DFW, where they will undoubtedly do what? Draft an edge rusher to hope they can.
I actually think they've already, and they might, but I mean, they drafted Donovan Ezeraku this year.
Okay, we didn't need Micah then anyways.
So now that like they're going to be like, oh, well, like believe me, the Cowboys spin on this will be Donovan Ezeraku makes us super confident that we can replace him with a rookie contract guy in the second round.
Yeah, well, I was kind of making a joke, but I do think that, they probably will spin it that way. So they'll have a couple first-round picks. I mean, that is something that in the dog days of the offseason or even this season, if things take a turn for the worse and you start to look ahead as a lot of teams, fans do when the teams aren't very good, you start to go, well, let's start taking a look at the draft here in about 6 months. Well, the Cowboys will have that. Now, I've been looking for details on the exact picks and what comes with that, but Parsons has already, in the 30 seconds since the trade was put out there, already agreed to the deal that he couldn't agree to for years with the Cowboys. 4 years, $188 million, $120 million fully guaranteed at signing. So I'll ask this question again because I really don't know. Maybe there's some relative or friend of a famous athlete out there. Do you just like minutes later get $120 million deposit, or not 120 fully guaranteed signing? That's not what that would be. But the signing bonus, does that just like hit the bank account?
I think they do it like, I mean, it's probably different, but yeah, it's guaranteed at signing or like the guaranteed money. They may prorate it over time or whatever, like they or spread it out, but like you're guaranteed that he's walking out with $120 million no matter what happens.
Yes.
So whether he gets that over 4 years of the contract length, that he's at least going to get this, or you get, say, and part of it's all salary cap math. So
right.
It's his cap number this year is $62 million. So that's a third of the contract they're paying out in the first year. And then they'll spread money out over time and add 4 years and all that stuff. This is just like, and they like, here's the thing about the picks, Craig. This is the Packers, right?
Yeah.
So a down year for the Packers is the
picking in the 20s.
It's picking in like 18 to 20. Okay. So, well, are they going to have a down year if you just gave them the best pass rusher in the damn league? Probably not.
No.
So now my friend Stevie Flores just sent me this text. You think you're going to replace Micah Parsons with 2 28th picks in the first round? Probably not, which is why part of the thing is like, yes, the Packers are available to do this deal and you send them up there. The Cowboys and the Jones family have never made a trade with the Packers ever before in their history. And so he sends them up to the Packers. And when you could have traded him to the Bengals or something, I mean, probably the Bengals, but a team you'll never see who it can at least promise you to be bad a couple times. And then that turns into a top 10 pick possibly. But unless something catastrophic happens in the next 2 years to the Packers, those are going to be in the 20s, which is nice to have. But are you going to replace a guy who it was miraculously fell to you at, the pick that he did? It's just, and they were picking like 9th that year, 8th or 9th. So yeah, I'm 11th. They got him in the 11th pick. So I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, you do, and I think a lot of Cowboys fans do, and I am looking forward to hearing some of those over the course of the rest of the night, as I will be watching a lot of football later on the night, but definitely going to be tuning in to hear some Cowboys commentary here and there and what people think, and just kind of reading through Twitter. There's like this there's disbelief but total lack of shock, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. You aren't surprised that he's on the move, even though it is pretty shocking. So it's just a weird spot to be in. It's like I said, this is not like the Luka thing where it's just completely out of nowhere, that even if you worked in the building, you didn't have any like clue that this guy's getting traded. But this was teased, and it just really looked like a lot of other NFL contract negotiations of you just keep going back and forth, and eventually crunch time gets close and you go, okay, well, we got to make something happen. And I was wrong. I would have just assumed that the Cowboys would have signed him, but it did feel like in the last week that there was just this different, like, no, really, this might not happen. And I was one of those like, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, we're seeing it. He's now a Green Bay Packer. And yeah, man, what a day for Cowboys fans. What a day for Packers fans. Has Jack McKenzie responded to you yet?
Oh, quite a bit.
He showed you a picture of the NFL shop jersey he's already bought with Parsons on the back.
I mean, he sent me a text just checking in, to which I responded.
What an ass.
Which I responded, F you, Jack.
Yeah.
And he says, I didn't make anyone do anything. I said, I just need someone to hate right now. I said, but congrats. He's going to have 40 sacks this year. I don't know, 40 is not what he's going to have, but like he is going to be a terror, and he is going to set a record against the Cowboys, and it's going to be Collinsworth up there going, these kind of guys, you trade these kind of guys in the NFL. Micah Parsons is a guy. He's a guy who guys stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be like, shut up, you turkey-necked a-hole. I don't want to hear this.
Take his bottle away from him. He's getting a little too angry drunk over here. Yeah. But no, I get it. Emotions are running high. So, yeah, just wanted to sit in that some more, because that is by far the most shocking story to occur today. And I don't know, I'm not keeping tabs in my head, but one of the more shocking stories we've seen in some time, as Micah Parsons is now a member of the Green Bay Packers. So some other things going on, just really, it's about, for me, college football later on tonight. But there were a couple things that I found interesting. For one, I know we're not your go-to for WNBA talk, although Paul's mock drafts are a big hit with all the audience. But Dawn Staley did make a comment about the fact that she had a formal interview for the New York Knicks coaching position. I think that was put out there. I don't know what the reporting was because I did not follow it closely. I know that they were at least discussed, and maybe I even saw a headline where they actually talked. I don't know if she's confirming stuff that wasn't proven or whatnot. But she did say in the Post Moves podcast with Candace Parker and Aaliyah Boston, I would have had to do it had they offered her the position. Not just for me, for women to break that door open, I would have had to. It's the New York Knicks. I am from Philly, but it's the freaking New York Knicks. And as we know, the Knicks went ahead and hired Mike Brown just last month. But yeah, she said, I would have had to do it. I'm from Philly, but it's the freaking New York Knicks. I shot myself in the foot by being inquisitive and asking all those darn questions is what she said. That's why she didn't get the, and I'm sure before somebody somewhere's like, what a selfish, like, why would she? Because they're just going to read the headline to that. But I can read that and say it's very tongue-in-cheek, but true.
But the question she asked, I went back and listened to this portion of it. Because it's in your feed regularly every single week because you're a devout listener. Because I was fascinated to hear her talk about almost getting this Knicks job.
Yeah.
Because it would have been one of the biggest things in sports ever.
It reminds me of the movie Eddie, right? That's what a lot of people compared it to. Whoopi Goldberg was the head coach of the New York Knicks. This would have been real life.
Maybe that's why they didn't do it.
Maybe. But obviously she's far more credentialed, Dawn Staley. But yeah, it would have been like, holy cow, what, like Hollywood come to life almost in a way.
But I think that that it's the question she asked. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. The question she asked was, I am ready for this. Are you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Because no matter what happens the first couple of months on the I think I can win. I think I can win big here in New York. She's confident in herself. And she asked them, are you guys ready to deal with only answering questions about me being a woman and not me being a basketball coach?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to come at them for a long time until she does win and win big in New York, because those fans are thirsty for a title. It's been a very, very long time. It's been since the 70s since they've won. And they feel like they've got a team that's close right now. And I think, and I think she's right. I think they chickened out because they're like, you know what, or at least they were honest with themselves. You know what? We're not ready for this. Bottom line. So they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, and it's just, it was interesting to see her talk about it a little bit more and how much of a reality it could have been had they, not been probably a bit afraid of how to handle it all. But she said, how, if you hired me as the first female head coach in the NBA, would it impact your daily job? Because it would. You're going to be asked questions that you don't have to answer if you're a male coach. There's going to be the media and all this other stuff that you have to deal with that you didn't have to deal with and don't have to deal with when you hire a male. That got them to thinking maybe she's right. I felt the energy change after that. So I shot myself in the foot by being inquisitive and asking all those darn questions. And so she was legit saying that, but I also think it's not a negative. It's not like, screw the Knicks for not, it's just like, hey, I shouldn't ask all those darn questions. And I would have been the head coach of the New York Knicks. So just interesting to kind of get perspective. And she's 55 years old, so it's not out of the equation. I just don't know that like the Milwaukee Bucks are going to hire Dawn Staley or the Phoenix Suns. I feel like it would be a New York Knicks would do it, and it would be a big deal.
It has to either be a team who, and again, I don't know. You either have to be a team that is trying to prove something.
I just don't think she would want to go to like some random ass franchise.
She's going to go to the Clippers.
Right, exactly.
No. But if it's someone who's got some history behind them, she's not going to go to the Pelicans, right?
Right.
And do that. So if you can, because you're going to need it sounds counterintuitive, but I think you're going to need the counterbalance of a massive brand to deal with can a woman talk to men about basketball?
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yes, there's women coaches in the NBA all over the place, assistant coaches. They don't have a problem with it. The thing that people will have to understand is the fans are the one who have a problem with it. There might be a few players, but for the most part, the players don't really care if they like the coach.
Players are getting paid really well to just go with the flow, and she's got credentials. But yeah, there she was talking about the Knicks job and saying, well, maybe if she hadn't asked so many questions, she might have gotten the job. But the questions were questions that needed to be asked from her position, so that's totally understandable. But yeah, I wonder. She's 55, so not out of the question that one day it could still happen. But there you go. Off the radar is the title of the segment. So that's pretty off the radar. I saw this come down just a few minutes ago, but at this point, I'm not really, as much as you see me wearing a Rangers cap pretty much every single day for the most part. It's just kind of my thing. I've not gotten my hopes up as far as where this season is going and is gone and will eventually go. But man, last night the Rangers putting up a bunch of runs. Putting up 20 runs on Wednesday night against the Angels and beating them by 17 runs, which is just ridiculous. But the Rangers today announcing that all-star shortstop Corey Seager has appendicitis and is undergoing surgery. So he will be out for an extended period of time, not been ruled out for the rest of the season just yet, but the 31-year-old is going to miss some level of time, and depending on how the recovery goes, it could be the rest of the season. So he had a homer just a couple games in a row here, and so the timing kind of sucks because you've seen him hit dingers the last two nights, and now he's going on the shelf. So he's going to have an appendectomy, or probably has already had it at this point. Today he'd had abdominal pain recently, and then they went in and looked around and found out that's what it was. So there you go. Corey Seager sidelined with an appendicitis.
I thought they might have a shot at the playoffs.
They started to flirt with it, man.
But Evaldi's probably out for the year now. Yep. Seager's out for, look, if he's going to be out several weeks, that's pretty much the year, So unless they.
Well, I think of the torque, and I don't know how all that works, the recovery, but I'm thinking about just your middle body and how much torque for a baseball swing you need, much less whipping it around from third base. You don't have to play a position, I guess. But
you remember Cameron that used to work for us at the radio station, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Cameron, I think Garrett probably remembers this. Cameron had appendicitis.
Oh, he reminds me of Corey Seager. Yeah, absolutely. I can see where you're making the connection.
But no, I'm just saying. So Cameron called me up after he had the surgery, and because I had texted to check on him. He called me. He's like, "Hey, I think I can get back to work next week. The doctor says I'm supposed to not for the next 8 days." I'm like, then do what the doctor says. And you don't have energy to run the board. And that's just 8 days of somebody going back to a desk job. So it was 10 days overall before you can go back to sit by a computer and work. And you're going to be healed up enough to do that. So I'm just extrapolating out for elite athletes to really do what you need to do. And I'm sure Corey Seager will find some sort of way to shortcut the way back. But if it's going to be 3 weeks from now and they're out of the race, just set him for the rest of the year.
Yeah, just get him healthy for next year and run it back at that point. Still 0-0, by the way. Boise State in South Florida. I'll keep updating you on this one as we move along here. I'm having a hard time taking my eyes off of it, though, as we roll through this segment. So a couple of other notes. Rick Barnes has signed a lifetime contract to remain as Tennessee Volunteers men's basketball coach. Danny White, AD in Knoxville, announced today that Barnes has signed what's essentially a lifetime contract, saying, Rick has taken our program to unprecedented heights. We are absolutely thrilled to have him continue coaching on Rocky Top for the rest of his career. He's constructed this program the right way, achieving elite-level success on the court while also ensuring that all our players excel off the court. Barnes is 71 years old as of last month and had signed an extension in 2023 that would have taken him through 2028. But this extends that deal for a year every April 15th beginning in 2028. So when he gets to the end of that contract, every April 15th, tack on another year until he doesn't want any more years tacked on, and that will be the end of the road for him. But he's basically signed a lifetime deal to be Tennessee basketball coach.
Yeah, good for Rick Barnes. He's been very successful there, more successful than he was at Texas, and he had a really good run.
He had a really good run there.
He had a really good run at Texas, and it just got to the point where the relationship was over, and they went in a different direction. And that's been kind of a for better or worse thing.
That was a Steve Patterson thing.
Yeah.
If you'll remember.
Yeah.
That was Steve Patterson was the AD at Texas. God, I wish he would go back. God, I wish he'd go. That was a great run from a rival standpoint. Hey. I'm very respectful for as much as I talk about I don't hate the Cowboys. If there was a rivalry where it feels like a little bit more rivalry like. It would be the Texas part of the OU Texas connection, but yeah, from a pure rival standpoint, when Steve Patterson was AD at Texas there for a blink of an eye, that was a great run for Aggies, Sooners, like everybody who wants to see them struggle. That guy was the wrong choice, and it was very clear very quickly. And yeah, they're still, I guess, feeling some of the effects of that, but they're pretty okay at this point. But yeah, that was something else.
I think like he was only the athletic director. He was less than 5 years there. I think it wasn't long. He made so many people mad, but I think that their rebuild took 5 years longer than it would have had they just hired a regular placeholder AD. Like just anybody who's like,
well, now Steve Patterson would be like a guy people do hire because he's like not even a educator. He's Mr. Business World and sports business and all. That's what everybody's doing now is hiring these types. I mean, the whole quote that came from Brett McMurphy and the Maryland athletic director that got all the realignment stuff kicked back up. I mean, if I remember correctly in reading about Maryland's AD, I mean, he is a guy that comes from the business world and that whole sports and entertainment. I think he's like the Falcons or like various spots like this guy, and that's kind of the resume you see nowadays. So Steve Patterson was just like, I think, ahead of his time. He'd probably still not great regardless, but
he'd be good at the conference commissioner level probably because he would do that. But he also had he was one of those dudes who he wanted to cut Olympic sports 10 years ago.
Right.
Because he was like, all I see is a number on the balance sheet. And you're like, there are like human beings that are getting educations and playing for your school and all that stuff. And he's like, we got to feed and clothe these little punks. I don't like that for tennis, and then that made a lot of people mad. And, it should have been, but I do think that he really dug them into a hole so big that it took him 5 years to get out of it. And then Charlie Strong didn't help in that he had this thing where they hired him. He went and met with a lot of the powers that be, and they're like, okay, what do you want? We're opening the checkbook. And he's like, no, not yet. We're going to earn it. And walked out of the room, and then they were like, what are you doing? So even Texas fell behind because they had people who didn't have the right idea about what was going on.
Yeah, Jim Smith. I went and looked him back up. The Maryland AD, they got all the fuss started that really wasn't anything other than him just saying, we'll be at 20 teams in 2020. Where are we?
2030.
Yeah. That he was just asked this question, like, how many teams will be in the Big Ten? He's like 20. And that's when everything just went from there. And he was with the Falcons. He's been with the Braves. He's been with Ohio State, the Columbus Crew, AMB Sports and Entertainment. So the Maryland AD, definitely one of those guys that are kind of commonplace nowadays, that are more sports business driven rather than probably educationally driven. So, all right, I'll wrap it up here and go ahead and get back to what is very much on the radar, and that is college football. And so just mentioned we have Boise State in action, and Boise State has gotten into the end zone here in the last few minutes, scoring a touchdown to take an early 7-0 lead over South Florida. So that game is ongoing right now over on ESPN, but got a boatload of games coming up throughout the rest of the evening. And that includes, as we mentioned earlier, some big-time matchups for the Big 12. But amongst the offerings, Ohio Rutgers is now live. Lafayette and Bowling Green is now live as well. So we got 3 games going on. But the ones that stand out from later on tonight, UCF, as we talked about with Adam Eaton, hosting Jacksonville State at 6 o'clock on ESPN+. I got a bunch of teams. Missouri's in action. Duke's in action. Oklahoma State hosting UT Martin. Get our first look at Hoss Haney and the new look Cowboys, because they've changed a lot behind the scenes. Houston versus SFA, another one. And then, of course, the game we talked about with Chad Brendel just a few minutes ago, Cincinnati and Nebraska, the big game later on tonight on ESPN at 8 o'clock. But Wisconsin's hosting Miami, Ohio. There's 15 games tonight. So got a pretty full slate starting now and reaching through the end of the evening. So very much looking forward to sitting in front of the TV and watching some of these teams. But USF down 7-0 with the ball back. And let's enjoy, people. We are here. We are in full swing now, and there's a few things off the radar.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Byron Brown, the quarterback at USF, and we've had their.
I like those uniforms they're wearing, the black uniforms.
Yeah. I like that Boise. All whites, of course. We know Jeremiah Dickey really well. We've had Spencer Danielson on the show, and I'm curious to see how this one shakes out. This is a nice little game to start out. These two good teams, I think, that are going to have successful years, and
winner gets a spot in the Big 12. That's what they should have done before the game.
Yeah.
Like really throw some wrestling on top. Like the belt's hanging above the ring. Like, yeah, that's what they could have done. Money in the Bank or just a straight up ladder match. There's a briefcase hanging above the 50-yard line, and the team that can figure out how to go reach that briefcase or just wins the game would probably be the simpler way. They get a spot in the Big 12.
By the way, this is from Sport Track on the Cowboys trade. They freed up
Spot Track.
Sorry. Spot Track. The Cowboys freed up $19 million of 2025 cap space with the trade and now hold $42 million in cap space, second in the league behind the Patriots.
Can't wait to how stingy they're going to be with that money somehow.
Well, I mean, it's what's your biggest fear, Craig? An irrational, it could be an irrational fear, like Smokies and snakes. I have this thing about birds. Amanda's way worse than me, so it's kind of helped me with my bird fear. Do you have one of those?
You know what?
Spiders or?
I'm just so tough. I don't have any. No, I think being out in the middle of deep water, like ocean water, just being kind of a little too far past the sand reef is a little too dicey for me. Yeah.
Okay. Like heights. I have a friend who's just terrified of heights. Stephen Jones is scared of the salary cap much more than anybody is scared of spiders or snakes or heights or the ocean or claustrophobia.
Yeah.
He is terrified of it. It rules his life. And since the salary cap came in, he has had this death grip on the Cowboys salary and all of this because they're like, well, we can't give all this guy because then we're going to run out. And we're building for the future. Well, they've been building for the future since 1996. And he doesn't know how long that is because just last year when they hired Brian Schottenheimer, he said, I know you asked about the so-called drought. And you're like, no. 96 was a long time ago. Bill Clinton was president. There have been several others since then. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been. I do actually have one note
Sure,
while you vent. Chris Lowe, longtime college football writer, ESPN. I think he's going to go join the ever burgeoning portfolio of On3 most likely because he did announce today that he is leaving ESPN, and it's the first full day of college football in 2 days, even though technically the season has already started, but he had been with ESPN for 22 years. And just kind of had one of those Post-its, or not Post-its, but the Notes app kind of goodbyes that people have. So on the eve of the first full weekend, he's announcing that he's departing. I have a pretty strong feeling we're going to see an announcement about where he's going to be at On3 probably tomorrow. But yeah, there you go. So if you enjoyed reading Chris Lowe, and this is definitely on the radar for college football, he is on the move from ESPN after over 20 years. So ESPN's just shape-shifting so weirdly right now. I don't know what to expect on the other side of it all, from their new offerings to just the personnel and personalities they have. It's just a strange time for them. Maybe for the better in the long run, but maybe not. I don't know, but I know they're in a position where they're kind of got to figure some things out. But anyways, they're not going to have Chris Lowe, so that's definitely a hit to their college football coverage, and the benefit of most likely an On3, I would think, would make sense. But there you go. There's a final note, and I am back on the radar.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. I have not heard from Mickey yet. So they're having a press conference at 6:30, which leads me to believe that we probably won't have Mickey.
Well, I guess we'll see.
We'll see here in a few minutes. But we'll talk about some of the other games around. I need to talk about something else, or I'm just going to get madder and madder. I've gotten at least 25 texts since this happened. Mike Gill, my twin in Atlantic City, asking what I thought about it and asking for some, Cowboys, beat reporters info, to many friends going, what is going on? I'm going to have to call my mother and explain this to her tonight and she's not going to be happy about it. Like, that's just like Jerry doesn't know what he does to me. It's not fair. So I need a break from it. We'll talk about some of those games this weekend and then see what happens with Mickey. This is 365 Sports.
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
Automatic Chef is your local vending, office coffee, and micro market provider, delivering outstanding service to break rooms all over Central Texas for over 50 years. Automatic Chef brings the best products to your location at the best prices. With hundreds of choices in fresh food, coffee, snacks, and drinks, let Automatic Chef tailor a break room solution to your needs. Make break time great again with Automatic Chef. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchef.com.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Penny Clinic Waco and reach out to the Penny Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pennycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Welcome back. Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak with you here. My text messages keep coming in. And Craig, just tonight alone, I want to talk about the slate of games that we have.
I know one thing. You're about to see USF's highlight tonight of the run just now. As they tie things up, there's a flag. I'm sorry, I'm not live commentary. That was a hell of a run just now from USF.
It looks like it's coming back, though.
Okay, well, damn.
Yep, coming back. Sorry, it was Byron Brown who did it, too.
Yeah, I couldn't. I need to change my contacts out. I couldn't tell anything about the details here. My eyesight's terrible. Anyway, yeah, that was a heck of a run. Just saw a guy in all black breaking through a lot of white and blue there. But, yeah, I guess it's getting called back. So that's a shame.
He broke like 4 or 5 tackles.
I think you're going to see him do that a lot more this season. But, yeah, it was a hell of a run from what I could detail. But, yeah, let's Let's see if USF finishes off this drive, but I know you were talking about something else. So sorry. That was good enough. I had to pause and stop down for a second.
That's fine. We have there's a lot of games tonight. Rutgers in Ohio going on right now. Rutgers leads 7-0. And Bowling Green leading over at Lafayette 7-0. Eddie George was a guest on the show just like a month and a half ago. Also NC State and East Carolina, which that game has been a bit of a house of horrors for them. Like whether they win or not, like East Carolina like kind of brings it for NC State when they play quite a bit. UCF and Jack State, we talked about that with Adam Eaton earlier. Delaware State rivalry right off the bat, I guess, in that one. Let's see. Elon and Duke. I mean, a lot of these games are not like all that fantastic, but Oklahoma State plays tonight. We haven't even talked about that. Oklahoma State plays UT Martin tonight, which, that's to me the most confusing team to think about in the Big 12, in that I know they have a good coach. I think the hires he made coaching staff wise, while those guys might not be on the cutting edge, they're good. Doug Meacham and Todd Grantham are good coaches. Like they'll shoot some life into them. I just don't know about the roster top to bottom, because they lost a lot. They moved a lot out the door and they brought a lot in. And how can they make it gel that fast with tension in the program like there is?
Yeah, I don't know that anything that you're going to do tonight's really going to shed too much light on what to expect over the long haul either. They're 4 touchdown favorites, basically close to that in this game tonight against UT Martin. But Oklahoma State's a puzzling team. I don't think there's really any way you could have, even if you cover them up close, a hard grip on exactly where they'll fall in the standings, because I think the Big 12, even for those that you do feel like pretty good things about, it's just very week to week and very little room in terms of divvying up most of the teams there. And that's why we get these interesting log jams and all these teams that feel like they have a shot each and every year, unlike maybe in some other leagues. And Oklahoma State's typically been one of those teams, but last year was as bad as it's been in a really, really long time, led to a lot of changes. And here we are, and we'll get our first glimpse later on tonight on the coaching changes, the personnel changes, the quarterback change. Now that we know it's Haas Haney, but I'm sure we'll see Zane Flores, because even if Haas Haney performs well, this is a game Oklahoma State should win by enough to where Flores and a lot of other guys are playing by night's end. So I think we'll see both. I don't know what the last word was on if they're going to switch these guys around, but I'm very excited to see Haas Haney in action. He can make some really interesting plays with his feet. He can sling it around. He's just not necessarily like your I guess passing's not what comes to mind first for me. It's more or less his athleticism and his ability to make things happen. So, very interesting times in Stillwater, because last year was just a low that I don't even know what to compare it to, because I don't want to misspeak. And it's like, oh no, remember 20 such and such? And like, no, not really. So from my standpoint of maybe blanking on a year here and there, I mean, that's as low as it's gotten under Mike Gundy. And if you don't improve drastically, then like, what does that lead to? Because then all of a sudden you're going, wait, this is 2 years in a row. And this isn't like, how much time, how much leeway does he have? How much of a leash have they given him? I would imagine a good amount, because he's earned that being there for 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you can ill afford to fall way behind and become irrelevant to some degree, which they're kind of in danger of doing if they don't perform to a higher level this year. So it's a big, interesting season in that there's not big expectations because there are so many unknowns, and it's Mike Gundy. So who knows? Maybe they are the big surprise in the league. They could very well be that because that's the way that the Big 12 operates. So excited to see what Oklahoma State looks like tonight. All right. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, joins us now on a very slow news day at the Star. I have not heard what's going on, Mick. Anything a buzz at the Star today?
Go ask Smokey how many times something like this has happened on the day I'm supposed to be with you guys.
Hey, look, it's a good time to have you on, because this is big news. But Mickey, before we get into the why this happened, historically, I can't think of another situation like this. And Jerry's played out, and the Jones family has played out a lot of these contract extensions. It's been well covered from Emmitt Smith all the way to CeeDee Lamb. I can't think of another one like this that it ended this way, because usually they get the deal done. Is there one I'm missing that they didn't get the deal done and had to move a player on?
Not if they wanted to get the deal done.
Yeah.
I think you answered your own question.
So
they didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So something there's more to this than I think we've seen so far. And I don't think it had everything to do about money, because they could have continued playing hardball with him, right? They didn't have to do this. They didn't have to trade him. It's not like this, what their compensation knocked their socks off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got a 6:30 press conference. It'll be very interesting to see how Jerry Jones and Steven answer these questions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into, the why of. There is, like you said, there is something different about Micah and Jerry in this instance, in that, Jerry kept saying that he and Micah had a deal and he didn't feel he needed to call the agent, but I mean, it's NFL rules that he has to call the agent to negotiate the deal. So the question was always like, well, what is going on that you don't want to call the agent?
Well,
that you want to push this.
Yeah, but think about this. They had to give the agent permission to go negotiate a contract.
Yeah.
So why would they do that?
Yeah. So, well, what's like.
So there's something missing here. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wish I could answer that for you. This just happened, an hour ago? So stay tuned to the press conference, because maybe we'll get an answer. But again, it wasn't like the cards were stacked against them and they had to do this.
No.
They could have forced him to stay, right?
Yeah.
And play on that last year of the contract. They could have put him on conduct detrimental to the team. And if he didn't want to play or didn't want to practice, it's $1.2 million a week that he would forfeit. So this didn't have to happen. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain it.
Yeah, it is. And look, Micah's got his podcast. He's very outspoken, but he didn't seem to me, at least, to be someone who is a locker room problem. Like Terrell Owens could be. But again, that's just from the outside.
He was, until these last few months, he wasn't a locker room presence.
That's true.
So there had to be a trust factor in there, because if you remember, Jerry kept pointing out, well, we got control of him for 3 years.
Yeah.
So were they hesitant to sign him to a long-term deal with a big signing bonus like that would be hovering over their heads? They could have made them play on this, and then franchised them the next year and franchised them the next year.
I mean, Jerry Jones,
or he would just, die on the cause, and not play, right?
Yeah, and look, how much has that worked out for players?
So again, they didn't have to do this, so there was something there that caused them to say, okay, let's take 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. I had written down, we were doing our podcast this morning, and I kind of just wrote a note to myself. I didn't say it. I was thinking, if I had to trade them, I want 2 first-round picks, preferably in the same year, but this one isn't, and I want 2 starters. Well, they got 1 starter. So,
and at a position they haven't been very good at filling the role, and Kenny Clark's a really good player.
Yeah, he's a really good player. I wanted another really good player.
Yeah.
And so I wish I had that answer for you, but my suspicions are, and here's another thing, and maybe from my long history, I remember when they traded Herschel Walker, okay? And they didn't have to do it. They wanted to do it. Jimmy didn't like his style of running. And when they initially did the press conference of the trade, they didn't come clean on it the way it looked like if you've been watching the docuseries on Netflix. They basically said, we traded Herschel Walker for these 5 players. And it was like, what? Are you kidding me? That's all you got? Well, 2 or 3 days later, it was revealed that there were draft choices tied to each of those players. And if you kept them, you didn't get the draft choices. If you let them go, you got the draft choices. And all along, the Cowboys hoodwinked Minnesota because they thought they'd keep the players and wanted to get good right away. And all along, they just wanted the draft choices. And they cut all but, I think, 2 of the players, Ike Holt and Howard, the linebacker.
Yeah, they they knew that they weren't going to be good right away. Like at that point, when they made the Herschel Walker trade, they knew they weren't going to be good right away. Obviously, this trade doesn't make them better right away. I mean, it helps with Kenny Clark. I mean, the more juicy thing is the 2 first-round picks, but this is
so now you've got 2 first-round picks in each of the next 2 drafts, right?
Yeah. But I mean, like, I guess the only downside of that is it's the Packers, and
they're
usually pretty good,
right?
They're good,
so picks.
Yeah.
And by the time you use it, you probably have take a guy with a second-round pick, or you package them together and go get whoever you want in the draft.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what'll happen there. Like in my mind, as soon as they traded him, the first thing was like, oh, you traded him to a team that you're playing in a month. You traded him to the Packers, who all the fans hate anyway. And you didn't trade him to a team that sucks. So like you're not guaranteed at least one good pick out of that. You're one of the better teams in the league. Like he can't be a Jaguar. He can't be a Dolphin. Like,
well, maybe this is like, what's the saying? You can't pick your neighbors or your relatives.
Yeah.
So maybe there was no one else interested. I don't know if they actually went out there and, because we would have heard, right? If they had been shopping him all this time, something would have leaked out from some team saying, oh, the Cowboys are wanting to get rid of Micah Parsons. So I don't know. Did they get a offer and said, okay, fine, because it's not an offer that you couldn't refuse, right?
Yeah, you could have, realistically, and I think in my head and your head, they probably could have, taken that offer and seen if they're like, hey, we got 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark from the Packers, can you do better than that?
Right.
So,
and that part we'll probably never know.
Oh, no, there's no.
Until 30 years from now when they do another docuseries.
Yeah, about Micah Parsons' 20-sack game against the Cowboys. And
that could happen, by the way.
Yeah. He'll be motivated.
He's lining up against Nate Thomas if he's still starting.
Yeah.
Or Terrence Steele. They better triple team him.
Yeah, he will be motivated. I would take the over on the prop bet of sacks. I said earlier on the show, Mickey, because he's going to be motivated. I mean, he's already a fantastic player.
There's got to be I'm not to be distracted, but it's pouring down rain here. I can't believe that.
God,
I don't know if that's a sign from up above or what.
He's sad. He doesn't agree with his move, Mick. He thought that cooler heads would prevail. They have because of this. I just saw they have $42 million in cap space for this year, which obviously kind of goes to the next extension guys, but like Deron Bland and all that, they can move some things around. But this is not setting the table for some other big move, is it?
That part, I have no idea. I just know that they had been, having, I don't know if there's cursory talks or what, but with Tyler Smith, with Deron Bland. Now, going forward, they got money to pay George Pickens if they want, if he performs the way they hope. We were joking about they could set the top price at a position, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, absolutely, because Aubrey's up after this year.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much to set the top price for a kicker, would it?
Mickey, they need to get that done. They just need to get that done. You don't just find guys like that's a miracle story. Don't let it.
Well,
end, right?
I mean, you saw the kick. It was 64 yards, right? It was good from 70. It hit the back wall.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. So,
and a funny story, and I know I don't want to get off track here. Schottenheimer said when Milton came off the field, and he goes, "What are we doing?" And he goes, "Going to try a field goal." He goes, "A field goal that long?" And they said, "Wait and see."
Yeah. This is Brandon Aubrey. I know that you guys don't spend a lot of time together, but just yeah. You haven't seen this show yet, but you'll like it. Mickey, just the reactions on social media from a lot of the players. Clearly, you had friends in the locker room. Do you think that Jerry and Brian Schottenheimer have a little bit of morale boosting to do about this? Not that it's unusual, but to trade a player of this magnitude who was he's the best player on the team. I mean, I guess arguably. Right. But he's one of the top 3 best players on the team. That was such a focal point. Has got to be something you've got to build up pretty quickly with the season coming a week from now.
Yeah. I think that's going to be, for the most part, a tough sell. But do you remember what the things DeMarcus Lawrence had to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think he was the only one that saw through all that?
No. And, I saw an interview he did just last week to Marcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
And he had maybe walked that back a little bit because a little bit. But I mean, it wasn't like he didn't come out and say hey, what I said, he just kind of said best of luck to Micah, but he kind of just described his process with the Jones family. And actually that one, I remember Steven at the press conference saying that when they were talking to Micah and said, well, if we do this, we can't do this, we can't do that. And he told Steven, he's like, that's not my problem, right?
Yeah.
That's your job and not mine. And that took the Cowboys. They were like, oh, well, I mean, he's kind of right there. We don't our
and
job.
You know what, Paul, they repeated that too. And Steven Jones has said that. It's I get it. He goes, that's not that player's problem. It's my problem on trying to pass the money around. So, you do get that. There just has to be something else that hasn't been revealed. Look, we just did a podcast and I said, you know what? They're at least as smart as us, right?
Yeah.
And if we see this, then they saw it, but there was a reason why they agreed to do this in the long run.
Yeah. I think the thing is, that's got to be it because history is not on the side of Jerry getting angry or just trade.
No.
That was Jimmy Johnson would cut the guy on the Atlas field or the guy who fumbled in the middle of the game when they were building up the team. That was a Jimmy thing. But Jerry Jones history, this is the only time that something like this with a player of this caliber has happened.
I'm going to be honest with you. And I thought of this, I don't know, last week. If I had gotten a one-on-one with Jerry, which probably wasn't going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you really want to keep him? And no one ever asked anybody that, right?
Yeah.
Do you really want to keep him, or are we coming up with excuses to maybe not make a long-term commitment to the guy?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying I'm smart. It just occurred to me because there was too many circumstances where you could have worked this out, right? And I understand, the Cowboys wanted a 4-year deal. Supposedly, the Packers got a 5, but they got to inherit the $21 million guaranteed for this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you factor in 6 years and add the $21 million in there, that total comes down to probably close to 39 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's remember these numbers are the agent's number.
Yeah.
Who
he's the highest paid non-QB now.
Trust, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the contract structured, how the guarantees are structured, because I saw the first, guaranteed at signing was 120 million. The total guarantees were 136. So that's a big discrepancy, because there could be guarantees against injury, guarantees if you're on the team this year, then it guarantees next year, things like that, right? So it'd be interesting to see the nitty gritty on how the contract is structured.
Mickey, they have to replace him in the aggregate. They drafted Donovan Ezeraku. They drafted Marshawn Nealon last year. Sam Williams is back. They actually made a bit of a surprise addition to the 53, which is what I had planned to talk to you about today before all this happened, with James Houston, a defensive end who played really, really well throughout the preseason.
As a pass rusher.
As a pass rusher, yeah, exactly. So now, granted, Micah Parsons is a unicorn. You can kind of line him up in a lot of different spots. But how do you think this changes the defense on how creative they are, or do they feel that they can at least get close enough to that production in the aggregate?
Well, I think number one, you won't have a guy that you can move all over the field and he'll, there were times they lined him up over the center or over the guard, right? And you rush the passer from there to try to get him away from double teams. They don't have that guy. Don't forget Dante Fowler Jr. had 10.5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
However, Quinn used him. I don't think he's in every down defensive end, but as a designated pass rusher, he wasn't bad here before. They just paid him more money. So, you're going to have to compensate, by committee, if we can use that term for defensive ends, more so than having one guy that's going to be a star out there.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Just one more, Mickey. Trayvon Diggs, surprisingly off a pup and on the active roster, at least on the 53. Week one, probably not realistic, but could we see him in week two?
Look at it this way. Yeah. When they, I'm trying to remember the last day they had practice when he was out there for the first time. Tuesday, maybe? What day is it? I forgot.
It's Thursday.
Maybe it was Monday. Or no, it was Tuesday, because they had to have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off, right?
Yeah.
He was out there it was a glorified walkthrough. And it occurred to me that if he doesn't play a week from today, he was going to have 3 more weeks to get his body in condition to play a football game. And the last time he actually practiced was the first week in December of last year. So I just can't imagine that he's going to go out there. And Schottenheimer said it. He said, well, when we're thinking about it, he's probably not going out there to play 75 plays.
Yeah.
But we know what he can do if he's out there and make a difference. Well, okay, so maybe you use him on a nickel down here or there when it's a definite passing situation, so he doesn't have to play the run. Because you know darn well that the minute he's out there playing cornerback, then Philadelphia's going 2 tight ends and we're running right at you, big boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't want a guy that missed all that time and put him out there for 1 week and he comes back with a torn hamstring or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to answer your question, I'd be surprised how much they used him in the opener. And I would have been surprised if this thing came to a conclusion with Micah, how much they would have used him in the opener also.
Yeah.
Because he missed everything.
Yeah.
The last time he did anything as a team in practice, other than maybe a walkthrough, would have been January 5th.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, go get a good seat for the press conference.
I better go reserve it right now. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll talk to you soon, Mick.
Okay, take care.
All right. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. We'll have him on. I'm gonna have to record him anyway next week because they play on Thursday night next week. But we'll get that done next week. So you heard it. Like I do, and look, Mickey works for the Cowboys, so it's a different perspective. But I'm very curious to see what made this one different.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll hear some things at that press conference. But yeah, definitely down day for Dallas Cowboys fans in the city of Dallas. Everybody bringing back that picture of Luka and Micah Parsons with each other's jerseys, and saw Adam Schefter get a hold of that. He aggregates, I think, more than just about any. He breaks as much news, but he also then takes the hottest tweet. And so I saw that going around for 2 hours, and all of a sudden here's Adam Schefter with that picture. So that picture's just flooding everywhere of those two posed together, and now rubbing salt in the wound and stating the obvious of Dallas has lost 2 big franchise stars. And the people of Dallas are well aware, and they're hurting right now. So, man alive, what a day. And by the way, South Florida takes a 10-7 lead over Boise State.
And it's Byron Brown.
Yeah, Byron Brown looks good, man. He's looking really good running the football. Had a big run earlier that got called back. That was a touchdown, but broke a bunch of tackles, and he just took it in himself here a second ago. So, 10-7 USF over Boise with 6.5 to go in the first half. So, it's a long, long way to go here, but just updating you because it's awesome to have this game on in the background.
And good on USF for keeping the Wolves away from Byron Brown. They were circling for sure to try to get him out of there. This is 365 Sports. The top 5 is next.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com. That's CLEAN email.com. Founded in 1910, Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Made to the highest standards, our products won't let you down. We give you the confidence to get out there and explore. Inspired by the past, devoted to the present, and built to inspire a multi-generational future, Samsonite is here to elevate your journey. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. Brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports for a discount at checkout. Let's talk about coaches who need a good season. I am not doing hot seat coaches these next couple days. I'm just saying that there's no hot seat until the season starts. And so since the season starts tonight, let's not turn up the heat on anybody until they've earned that heat. I think that's very magnanimous of me. Anyway, number 5, Hugh Freeze. This game on Friday night against Baylor is very important for both squads for similar and different reasons. But for Hugh Freeze to start off non-conference with a big win on the road would be huge. And he has no proof of concept yet at Auburn, now heading into year 3, that his offensive system still works. Now, is Jackson Arnold probably better than Peyton Thorne? Yeah, that's probably the case. How much better is he? How much better is the rest of the team? We'll have to see. But Hugh Freeze really needs to show something in year 3. 5-7, 2 years in a row. Down on the plains, ain't going to get it done. Number 4, Sam Pittman. It's kind of a good news, bad news situation for Sam Pittman. He's got a quarterback in Taylon Green that has a ton of athletic potential and showed some flashes last year, but it's been up and down for the Razorbacks since he got there. And right now, the basketball program is spending a bunch of money. The football program, by his own admission, went out and spent a bunch of money on the offensive line this year to help Taylon Green. So, can he deliver on that promise, or is somebody else yelling "Woo Pig Suey" from that sideline next year? We'll see. A very important season for Sam Pittman. Number 3, Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. The Hokies have just been meh since he took over. And I think meh, average, is a bigger sin than being really bad, or because, look, either be really good or be really bad. In the middle is just dishonest. It's just not right. I'm not saying Brent Pry's dishonest. I'm just saying that, like, being in the middle, it's boring. Milquetoast, vanilla, bland. It's a tease for no reason. Just be awesome or be nothing. That's my rule. Number 2, Billy Napier. This is a guy who by October 20th could have a gigantic extension or be fired. They've got a really tough schedule right out of the bat for the Gators, and he's got the quarterback in DJ Lagway, who has a ton of hype around him and is going to be very, very good. But if DJ Lagway gets hurt, which he has done already a lot, he's actually coming off injuries that he sustained in camp. If he cannot be durable and the Gators have to go on without him, the depth behind DJ Lagway is not really all that great or even proven at all. So if they have to go back to that and he can't win without DJ Lagway, or he can't win to the level that DJ Lagway raises them to, then he's going to be in trouble. And number 1, Mike Gundy. The mood has changed in Stillwater. He had to make a whole bunch of change in the offseason. We thought he might even been fired last year the way it was going, and usually these things don't come back. When the couple tells you they're separating, they usually don't get back together for very long. We separated, now we're back together, and we made it. No, usually it's we separated, we got back together, separated was way better. That feels like what's going on in Stillwater right now before the season starts. So we'll see. But they've got to be way better than they were last year at 3-9, and they have a whole new roster of people trying to do it. It's tough sledding for Mike Gundy, but he's one of the better coaches in the country and more consistent. So if anybody can pull himself out of this hole, it's the man with the mullet who watches OAN. That's going to do it for us. We've got polls. Yes, we do. I've already done that joke. I apologize. All right, let's go to the polls. By the way, Boise State just fumbled. South Florida recovers. The Bulls on the march once again. Poll, Tigers versus Bears. Who leads week 1 with the win? I think we know where our voting populace lies. 76%. I think Baylor's going to win. Craig is in the 24%, though. You picked Auburn.
Yeah, I don't think I picked anything crazy either.
Yeah,
think I picked the team's actually favored, but there's a lot of reason to believe that Baylor can win this game, and there's a lot of hype around this one. And it's like when we talked to Cole Kubelik the other day, he had a list of concerns, and a lot of them, at least to start off with, had to do with just the atmosphere and kind of what Auburn's going to be walking into in terms of excitement and frills and all that kind of stuff that can really swing some momentum the home team's direction. And I think that's what they're trying to prevent. But that's what Baylor's banking on, is that home crowd to come in and help them, close any gap that there might be there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I obviously got another show to talk about it, but that's going to be a good one.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, Dion says CFP players should be paid per appearance win. Is he right? No wins that 46%, maybe at 22, and yes at 32. Look, if you want these players to start playing in the playoffs, playing in the bowl games, they got to start paying them. You know, the bowl games are a big grift for the city anyway. In a lot of cases, like they've got the money to throw it their way.
Yeah, I think I need to see more details on his actual proposal. I mean, it was
like NFL playoff bonuses, which
right?
He was structuring,
and so I don't think on the surface there's really anything wrong with that, but I think people are also tired of just seeing money being handed over. It's like we went from one extreme to another extreme where now it's like, okay, so do we have to pay you to show up to the meetings? Oh, we're already doing that. Yeah. Technically, we are already doing that. So now we're paying you to play in the playoffs. And look, I know the other argument is, well, they're making billions of dollars. And so I get it. I'm not arguing one way or the other, but I do think the money whipping gets very tiresome. Yeah. It's why I can't watch read certain websites because I get tired of the NIL headlines constantly, you know?
They at least like with pro sports, I know that like when I buy a ticket, I'm paying the salary, right. But Jerry Jones didn't call me and be like, hey, listen, we're trying to get this Micah deal done. Can you give me $1,000 more? You know, like, can you help us with a push? That never happens in pro sports. So to get it to where people aren't annoyed with this, they've got to find ways without asking the fan for more and more and more money out of their product directly. Like, so I agree with that. Now, this doesn't come out of the fans' pocket. This comes out of the school's pocket. So this isn't NIL. This is actual, you know, revenue sharing.
Yeah, but where are they going to offset what they're now paying for that? That's going to come from the fans. So they've been asking the fans for everything for the last 5 years, and now this would inevitably somehow fall back on the fans again. And so I think fans are just tired of being money whipped, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn.
I don't think you are. And look, at least with pro sports, it's like, okay, ticket prices went up, parking went up, concessions went up. I understand, like, but at least that's what you're asking me for. That's always been the deal.
But what's going to happen? A guy's under contract was going to get traded away right before the season starts. Like that would never. Oh, yeah, that did happen today, didn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what? I felt bad for you and Luca. Now I don't.
But no, like, but contractually though, like they can do that. But like here, it's like, yeah, I'm donating all this money, and it's like the star quarterback, just Nico, just leaves like in the middle of spring, and there's nothing to do about it because so like I think people are, if you're gonna money with me, at least give me some reasons that I know it's going to be like stability. A standard. Yeah. And that's what's frustrating is there's just more and more things they keep adding, and it's as unstable as it's ever been. And yet they're asking more and more for more money to help. It's a never ending ask. And that was before NIL. Colleges were doing that anyways. Get your yearly letter from the school asking for your donation and all that. Like that's never changed. But this house settlement goes through, and what's the first thing that happens? People asking their alumni to go now make up the difference, even though the schools are supposed to have all the money in the world. So yeah, it's a weird deal. Anyways, I mean, I think the base premise of this is fine. I don't really care. I don't care about them making money.
Nobody's opted out of a playoff game yet.
No, and like
so they've opted out of the Holiday Bowl.
I saw the best way that I guess the way to describe this is like you're proposing a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So if you had a bunch of guys suddenly bolting, which maybe they're now encouraged to, but at their own peril, if you want to see what an NFL team thinks about that, then maybe you create a situation where you do need a solution to it. But yeah, right now, a couple guys in a random bowl here and there, I don't think is a reason to go like, well, we better go give them more money real quick. It's like, well, why don't we cross that bridge when we get there?
I think if you want the bowl games that are not in the playoff to make it, you have to start thinking about NIL.
Yeah. Well, Dion's looking out for his guys. Good for him, and looking out for just players in general. I mean, not just Colorado, but I'm tired of money. I'm not tired of taking it, but I'm tired of talking about it.
And was surprised about all the weed in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that today, but it was funny to hear him say that. That's going to do it for us. We're back again tomorrow, all three of us. We'll see you then, everybody. Good night.